I would go there.
Because it wasn't with the union.
I live
I'll
chair.
Now it keeps getting bigger day by day.
I know.
What is that?
No, I was just saying hi. Yeah, we were just saying, we wish we had either gotten a binder, or, you know, if we could figure out a way to to get all of this into one binder that gets given to us instead of all this different.
Yeah, I just put dates on it to know which day I got what.
That was smart. I tried stapling some stuff together, but I lost track after the first night. No, it's just been a growing pile.
Okay.
Right, this is that one. Hi, Joe.
Hey, well, we'll start in a couple of minutes, I'm waiting on
Really?
He's
Oh,
here.
and he was here.
He was here.
He gone to get the printout for John's,
Oh,
I don't need it.
you don't need it?
No.
No, I think it was, he's
6
doing
o'clock, we'll
this.
call it. Need $1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we should.
Oh, yeah.
And then he says, hey, do you want it?
No, I was with you.
No, okay. I think everybody was.
Nice try, though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we caught that.
There we go, yeah.
It's a good-looking man right there.
Who's that?
Oh, zoomed on me.
Oh. Oh, see, that's what I see, they see me eating candy, put the candy down.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Super hungry.
These are some additional questions that was asked. They weren't answered, and then we asked for it, please pass.
Sure.
And then, these are some, question was asked of what it would cost us a 4% increase for management. So these are.
Thank you.
One more, yes.
Thank you.
John, can I have one more?
So I'm guessing that Anthony has this, and he's the one that gave the answers in, right?
Right.
Only did it. There's only one more. What is it?
I think it went that way as well, Marion.
Yeah, which was this last one that you printed out?
This one here was a question asked, what would cost us a 4% increase?
Okay, okay.
Sam, why don't you sneak in? When did you sneak in?
A few minutes ago.
Oh, I guess it was, hello, I was looking at my.
On the sheet that I just showed earlier, those are, it compiles all the proposed recommendations.
Okay, I thought they were all here.
You can see just finished. John's question.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It's not, okay, let me get a bite. Okay. When they talk down at that end,
Huh?
when they talk at that end, the camera
Oh.
goes over there.
Okay.
Make noise of this and it
All
goes
right.
over here.
Carmel, say something. Say something. Hello, hello, hello. It didn't work. So much for that, Sam. What are we, we don't think anybody can hear us? No.
We're looking at the tracking on the camera.
Oh. I see what you're saying. I can't see behind me. I wish I could. Oh, there you go.
So now it worked.
It was your paper.
Yeah.
Maybe it's motion, not noise.
Come on, Igor.
You see him coming?
He's at the end of the hall, yeah.
It's right here. Oh, you saw him on the thing?
Oh, no, I just heard some noise and I turned around to look.
Oh, I thought you saw him on the
He'd
screen.
be nosy in the hall of my car.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I think so.
He has.
He's fine.
Question for today, John.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony, for the. Are we ready to start? Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Finance Committee to order. This evening, we will discuss recommendation from council members in terms of the mayor's proposed budget and the changes. I just want to echo that we had four evening of hearings on the budget. I want to thank Anthony, the department head, and everybody who was so diligent in providing the answers to the many of questions from the members of the council. And I appreciate that. The answers we all were able to get answers and follow up with questions to answer. And that was great that we were able to do that. We're now coming on to the end of our 2023 budget hearing and recommendation or any changes from the council. What we have in front of us here is a document that I put together with all the proposed changes from council members. And this evening, I would like to suggest that we go through these and give the mayor and the finance department an opportunity to go over this and come back to us with right side, left side number on how we balance this if we were to proceed with all of this here, so that we can actually look at numbers and to see, are we good in this to proceed with all the recommended change, or should we just change our mind and decide to, make amends on certain things. So one of the things before we go into this is that I would like the council to consider that we meet next week. And the reason why we wanted to meet next week is to give the mayor and the finance team the opportunity to look at his document, look at the numbers, and come back to us. And then we can able to make a good faith judgment on how do we proceed. So I recommended that we do not pass anything tonight, but just discuss this and allow them the opportunity to come back to us in the next couple of days or so with numbers. And then, so before we go into discussion, I would like everyone to kind of how is your schedule next week? That week, and we have to do a couple days out. And then we'll go into a discussion here or where we stand. I know everyone was busy when we started this.
Do you want
Go
to answer
ahead,
this?
yeah.
I can meet Monday before our 7 o'clock meeting.
That might be a little tight for them because today's Friday.
Oh, for the staff, yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I could meet after 5:30. Wednesday, I could meet probably after 6 o'clock. Well, yeah, during the day, I'm available.
Every day is good.
Cannot meet Thursday, cannot meet Friday.
So you're good Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yes, I have late afternoon meetings, but
How is your next week?
I'm only.
In the afternoon.
Yeah, Wednesday would be, Thursday, probably the best.
Wednesday
Or Thursday.
Thursday.
And it would have to be after 6 both days. I'll pick up my father.
Same thing you, 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Williams,
I can make Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday work.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Let's board of you.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Thursday, I think, is the dinner.
Yeah, Thursday's the Democratic dinner.
Tuesday,
Thursday, it's like 27.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Mr. Collins, how is your
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday? Wednesday, so it looked like Wednesday. I'm gonna make myself available regardless. So,
Hold on, wait a minute.
So you
I know, none of them are.
They can just deliver our
How
dinners,
is
John.
your-
You have something every night? I mean, if you do, you do.
I know.
If Tuesday is that dinner, then
Thursday,
so
27.
Thursday's out. So Tuesday is not available.
Tuesday's.
Wednesday seems to be the running day for everybody here. You
Yeah.
are booked Wednesday
Wednesday after 6.
I could,
after 6.
yeah.
Or
Afternoon.
at 6.
At
Oh,
6.
it's good for me.
Yeah, if you do at 6, I'll probably be here about
Afternoon is
6:10.
good for me.
I got just a couple minutes.
Oh, maybe 4:30.
You can do sort of.
I know, it's a little early. I
5:30,
could
5:30.
try to rearrange, 5 o'clock maybe.
I have a 4:30 meeting on
You do?
Wednesday, but
I
I
know.
would be here, by 5:45.
Can we do it for 6 to accommodate
I'll probably be here
Ms.
about,
Patrick?
I'll probably about 10 minutes after 6.
Yeah.
But I'll be here. I can do that.
Wednesday, 6 p.m.?
Yes, I'll put it down now, if that's what it's gonna be.
No, but if that's, I can rearrange
Oh,
Wednesday, 26th. That's good.
Question, would we be able to, I know during the pandemic and being virtual, is that still an option?
No.
No, it's not.
Wednesday is a
Oh,
budget
yeah,
meeting.
that's right. I was gonna say for the
that would work.
And what did you say, John, 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock on the 26th, Wednesday
So
the
that's-
26th
Yeah.
6 PM.
at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And John, do you want that, you want me to contact OSM to have that?
Yes. At this meeting, we'll have to call the committee meeting and then we'll have to call a special city council meeting on that very same day.
You could recess the Monday meeting and reconvene it on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, so we'll do that. So we'll recess the.
You're passing it on Wednesday then?
Huh?
Are you passing on Wednesday or are you having a committee meeting?
It sounds like you want to
Is it
do
a
both.
council?
Yes, I would prefer to do both and get it out because it's due early next week.
It's
Following
due
week.
next Tuesday.
November 1st, we have
Yes.
to have it done by
Yes.
November 1st, and that's.
Yes. So I think it would be wise if we do both. A committee meeting to discuss the proposed changes, getting the numbers, and we're gonna get it from the finance department Monday, Tuesday.
And we'll be talking a little bit about it tonight
And then we'll
also,
go through
right?
some of them here tonight, and go through all of them, and then we'll have them come back to us with the numbers. All right, so Wednesday, 26th at 6 p.m., we'll recess the city council meeting next Monday, and we will group here, and then we'll call back to our finance committee meeting and do both at the same day, and get it out and done with. Because we don't wanna meet another day during
Well,
next week.
we'd have to meet, if we did, we'd have to meet, like on a Sunday or,
No, Monday's the 31st, so
oh, that's true, actually, but.
you
so
said
we
bring
could-
candy here.
I think some of y'all are not available on Monday.
I'm out of town.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
You're an important
That's
part.
true, because actually we don't have a meeting.
Right, exactly.
So, all right,
Well, it's
so,
open for weekends too, just.
Yeah.
out there.
so let's settle for that Wednesday, 26th at 6 p.m. and we will have two meetings, the committee meeting and the city council meeting. All right. Everyone has a document here, so we can, I'm sure you have a little scan on it to read, and open for discussion as we, here. I just want to pop one item out, support for Music Haven concert series. I know we all received an email from Monagola asking for funding to help offset costs. And I put some of the comment there. I did have an opportunity to speak with her today and to talk about the expense that is being incurred to carry this event. And we know, all of us know that the impact of that concert series to the Schenectady, the tourism, artists coming in, people, hotel, restaurant, and everything like that. And she's requesting $20,000 in that email. And I'm gonna make a push here. I think we should do better than that because of the impact and the thousands of people that is coming every weekend to witness what's going on in the city here at Music Haven. So I'm leaving that out there, and I would like us to talk about it and see where we can land a reasonable figure to help.
Yes.
I know Ms. Patrick is very involved in this, so I will go to you first.
I am, so I am a volunteer with Music Haven. I want to say that, so I'd probably have to recuse myself, I guess, but yes, I would support the $20,000. But basically, we do get thousands of people, and they come from all over the city, and it's an incredibly diverse audience of people. The scheduling of the concerts hits a lot of different ethnicities in terms of the types of music that are brought. So that it's very diverse in terms of the types of music, it's very diverse in terms of the offerings, and then the crowds are wonderfully diverse. I mean, it's really incredible to be there and be a part of this. I think also another point to point out is that it does go beyond the Music Haven concert series to the support that Mona provides to Juneteenth or Caribbean Fest, or any of the other activities that happen. Usually there's somebody that might be backstage that is also being paid through Mona's budget. And so she raises, when it says 150, I mean, she raises over $150,000 higher than that, and brings in world-class entertainment from all around the world, thankfully, now that COVID's over. So I would definitely, I just think it's, it's something that unites all of us in the city, so.
It does. And just to add to that, I mean, in terms of the overall cost, it's about $150,000 on the high end. And they have been reaching out to our organization to seek donation to offset these expenses. So why not us? That is something that is near and dear to us.
And it's
That
a
all
city
of us
park,
benefit in the city and the
Yeah.
park that belongs to us.
Yeah, and I agree with all of what you said. So, and especially based on what you said, I think this is like an ideal place to spend ARPA money because it covers, it checks all the boxes. And so she asked for 20, but so if that's all she's asking for, but do we do we really wanna, I mean, is she asking for 20 only because that's all she really needs? I mean, I'm not,
Oh, I think she probably,
I think
whatever.
I wanna recommend that it's not ARPA, I would like to see this be part of the operating budget, because ARPA's gonna go away. And Music Haven's gonna, I mean, music, I think this was the 37th year that, 37th that this has been happening. That's a lot of years.
So where,
Maybe 35.
in response to that, what line, where would you?
I don't know, I mean, I think
Parks.
that's what we're
That
gonna
would be
see.
the
Parks?
Without
Oh,
not,
okay.
without not getting into one thing, on,
Let me just put.
Anthony can help us with this, more likely fits into park, fees
Yes.
and fees for service.
Okay.
I'm just
Yes,
throwing that out.
that's absolutely right.
Yeah,
Okay,
and just, yeah, you're not a member of the Music Haven, you're a volunteer.
I'm a
So I don't
volunteer.
think you don't have to recuse yourself.
There's no
All of us volunteer.
Oh, okay, yeah, I mean, yeah.
So,
You're not directly benefiting from that,
No,
you're a volunteer.
I work.
You're not a member of any board in regards to that.
so I agree with everything that was said. We could go on all day about how important, that event series is and all the wonderful things that it does for the city. So I would be in support of that. I would maybe have a conversation with Mona before, we talk about increasing the money. I think if she's asking for 20,000, then we need to meet 20,000 minimum. I wouldn't be opposed to increasing the money at all, because I think it's an important thing, but, if that's what she's asking for, I think that the least we could do is meet her there.
And I repeat myself, I did have a conversation with her, I think, if I can recall, was that she asked for 20,000 because she was thinking that she don't wanna ask for too much, and we may not give her. So, and then where are we gonna get the additional funding?
Right,
I'm gonna go
that's
seek
right.
additional funding outside of the city, within the city limit.
And just as a point of clarity, so what, I think when you started, what you're saying is that, so we're gonna go through these and then we're going to say, hey, this is what we might be interested in, and then what's gonna come back to us from
No,
there.
I just picked this one out here because this
No,
was a
no.
late ad.
But I mean, that, we're gonna do, yeah, but we're gonna do it,
Yeah.
all the way
So
through.
we'll go
right?
through, we'll discuss it, and then we'll hand it over to the mayor and Anthony to come back with the numbers.
Whether it works or it doesn't
Right,
work.
and then we can regroup Wednesday to say, is this workable? It's not workable, we should drop it, we should.
Right, okay.
We should go forward with it.
That's what I thought you
Yeah,
were.
so we're more here with flushing it out, discussing it, and move on.
I'm in total agreement with the 20,000 as our working budget.
Go ahead.
The other thing for the council to consider at Music Haven is we do the swimming pool, the lighting, the day diamond, parking lot improvements, the walkway, the other investments that we've made in Music Haven. It really is a great facility. And so other people want to use it, want to come in, and our fee structure for actually renting it, I think is probably on the low side. And so the council should look at, again, if we want people to use it, we want it to be there. But at the same time, there's some expenses in terms of staffing, maintenance items, and to look to just review that fee structure to bring in a little bit of money to offset some of those costs and enable us to ensure that the improvements that we make are maintained, we staff them, and it's just an attractive and a good asset for the community as a whole.
Go ahead, please.
I'm confident that Ms. Golub's work within the community is well noted and appreciated. Her generosity is clearly identified in everything that she touches, and it is not just financial contributions, just her investing her energy, time, and efforts. So definitely I'd be on board with supporting the $20,000. An agreement, I think if we are able to make an additional a gesture of goodwill, I support the mayor's comments of making sure that we're properly identifying all the ancillary costs that come with having this preoccupied more, but definitely putting an investment from the city standpoint into just an event that continues to uplift and showcase our many talents, I think is something that we can all get behind.
So I think we're good this way. I mean, I attaching a number at this point in time. We'll wait until the numbers come back from finance department, from the mayor, and we can able to arrive at a final number at that point in time. So let's move through, and if there is any question that we need to answer, I will try to answer. If not, I will refer to council member for help.
John, are you gonna move us on to the next?
Oh, no, I was just asking if you're getting moving along, if you're looking at,
Oh,
sorry.
I thought we were going line by line.
My bad, I was like, I would say, if you're looking
Oh, I
at,
see.
you're scanning and you see anyone that you need to pop out, ask
Well,
questions, and we'll try to
gotcha.
answer.
Okay.
John, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
On page 2,
Yeah.
10-10-100, Research Council. Is that something new?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you're increasing that by 82,000. And what would that be? I'm just curious.
I think so.
Yeah, this one here is under the city council, and it will be a council that would work directly with the city council for guidance and also to help with the police review board. Am I missing anything there?
Will you work with our attorneys, or is it separate, or is he like a consultant? Excuse me. And they're I just popped up. I didn't see that before.
So if he or she is gonna work with, they're gonna work with the police community review board, wouldn't that be like, so then they would be like a consultant, right? Like fee for service type thing?
So police review board.
And the council, and, right?
Yeah.
And so, just to be clear, so we're putting this in as fees for service?
Right here.
Like 100 is salary, admin salary, 100 is.
Yeah, you can put it for fees for service, that way it'd be a consultant. If you put it as a salary, you're at time he'll be an employee.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, no, that's what we're here, I mean,
Yeah.
So
go ahead, please.
I'm not really sure why we would need that position. It seems like a lot of money for something that, I don't know why the city council would need this particular person. Because, I mean, when we do stuff, we have the legal team to be able to assist us. I mean, I often call Andrew for support, and he's pretty readily available to answer questions. So I'm just asking,
Oh, well, so, I mean,
if this was, I don't know, if
Yeah,
it
so
sounds like maybe you,
I would say, I didn't know that Andrew, had, isn't readily available like that, I didn't know if he's got a lot of, if he has the time to support, but I think when we were talking about police community review board, that was my, idea, and I think that having an attorney, to be able to kind of consult with that, committee, I think that having that attorney to say maybe we bring in outside counsel for other things, even though Andrew's here, you know what I mean? I think that just the proximity to the city, I think that would be a good kind of a check and balance of the duties of that person. So as we're talking about the police review board supporting them, I think that it'd be better to kind of have that person operate in that very specific capacity. I think it's a very important position, and I think that I'd like to see someone in that position of counsel or really not with too many other things on their plate, but they can really focus on that, because that seems to be like something that is, when I'm being reported to me, I don't know if anybody else is hearing this, is an area that could use a lot of help.
I have heard from some police review board members that, because I was interested that no positions were requested for the police review board, and I heard from at least one person that they weren't asking for any staff from the police review board. So I don't know. I mean, I think if there was a need for the police review board to consult with an attorney, they probably would do that on a consulting basis. You know, if they needed somebody that they could turn to, rather than hiring an $82,000 plus benefits person, that maybe there's somebody of counsel that they could, you know, on an hourly way if they had the need for that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with that. I don't know that, you know, we need to bring somebody on full time. I think plus benefits. I think that I don't think that would be the appropriate way to structure that. But I agree. You're surprised initially that they didn't ask for anything. You know, and I think that they definitely need some support there.
So I would say that I attended one of their last meetings, and actually there was a proposal that was put forward, and no, maybe the meeting before last, but anyway, there was a proposal, and actually there was a request in there for staff. I don't know if that's going to get to the council. They were having a discussion. I was just listening. So there was a proposal that was brought to them, and then they discussed it, and it did include staff. So I was at that meeting. So I know you heard from one person, but there was a kind of a conversation around that proposal. I don't know where it is at this stage or when it will come to the council, but I know that there was discussion, and part of it was staffing was going to be part of that proposal.
When you were at the meeting, were there any attorney from the city at that meeting?
No, there was no city staff.
That's one of the thing I got what was happening for several months now, or over a year, 2 years, that we used to get city attorneys and
They requested it?
well, and they all of a sudden it stopped, and there's no attorney is present at this meeting. So then we already have to request it so we can pass that on to the board.
We all work off schedules, so
Yeah.
it's,
So we'll have to pass it on to them, because that's one of the questions was fielded to me as to why attorney are not attending this meeting anymore. So now I got the answer. So thank you.
I think
But I agree with you.
the technical hiring of attorneys, both in charter and state law, that I appoint the corporation counsel, and the corporation counsel hires the assistant corporation counsels, which this title would be. So I don't know if you can have one that in the clerk's office or someplace else. It's gotta be for it to be an attorney for the city. Even pertaining to the outside firms, when there's area of specialization, goes through the corporation counsel.
And I mean, I don't know how other people feel, but I just don't.
I would agree with that.
I'm telling, you know, it is when you do have a need to, I've called in many times, I think probably we all have, in terms of, you know, looking for that legal counsel around things that we might be talking about at the city council. Excuse me, I have a cough drop in my mouth. But he's been, and when I first got on council, I went and saw him, and you know, that, in that sense as well. So I don't know how other people feel, but I just don't see the need for something to council for city council, that part of it, but I don't know how other people feel.
Go ahead.
I can see the importance of them needing legal counseling right then and there, before they can move forward with whatever they're discussing. So again, I would say that I would leave it up to, the board, reaching out to Andrew, letting him know where the meetings are, having council present, and then Andrew would reach out. Again, he's a corporation counsel, so it would be for anything that we have.
Yeah,
That's my feeling.
I think it's I think historically, when we discuss in terms of seeking, and I'm speaking historically in terms of the law department and advising us as a council, the mayor would normally mention that the corporation council works for him, works for the mayor. So I just wanna like, get those things that we were told. So when we hear those words, can the corporation council work for the mayor, work for the council, at the same time be fair in the judgment or the opinion for both sides?
Well, do you have an example where you feel that the corporation council has not adequately given advice or represented the council or the city?
Well, I don't wanna get into that, but, we can go back into years where we could think, but I just wanna put that to the table where it was mentioned so few times.
If I may, so then, trying to hear what's being said right now, and so corporation council, where does corporation council fit in the organizational power? So corporation council works for
The city.
So hired by the mayor, but works for the city, represents the city.
The whole
It
city.
makes the impression that sometimes the corporation council tells me things I don't wanna hear.
But I do think,
So,
I'm sorry.
no, I just went to flip to the organizational chart when you, asked that question, so it is,
Oh, it's in the, oh, yeah,
It's-
sure.
it's in the beginning. So that it's,
Been adopted by the council for several years.
so that it's directly, from the mayor, along with the director of operations, and the city council staff is the city clerk.
So looking at the chart, and if that's the case, then we need to ask that the chart be revised to corporation council represent the mayors and the city council, but 1 hour appointing directly to the mayor's box.
So, and I think for the, Community Police Review Board, I think that the type of things that they are dealing with, I think that there is some, that requires, maybe some specialized things. So I agree that we shouldn't necessarily bring somebody on to work full time, but I think that to make sure that they have a budget so that if they needed to seek that consultation, they could use it. That's would be my position.
How does I guess I would have thought that the commissioner is sort of in that role also, that if the police review board had some sort of question, I don't know, but.
It could refer something to the commissioner. Again, the commissioner form of discipline, which is city led in the establishment of it, really is a much more effective way of creating properly functioning department. When things go wrong, imposing discipline. It's why the department now is one of the higher performing departments. Most of its history in the past. I don't think the board has had any complaints in terms of referrals that have gone to the board that haven't been followed up in a manner that people feel adequate in terms of the time and attention that's given to it. Might not always be 100% in agreement with what the final decision is, but the process validates whatever action is taken.
Go ahead, please.
So I'd say as the Public Safety Committee Chair and also having sat on the Civilian Police Review Board, definitely referring back to the bylaws, the city code, it does clearly designate that there needs to be powers or funding to support having a separate agency to review. Whether that's used or not, to the mayor's point, is I think unfortunately, if it's in the bylaws, then we either need to support that statement or remove it. But if we're then entertaining sentiments of having a corporation council that, for lack of better words, may have a dual relationships that they're attending to. I think there could be some credibility with having a separate agency. I think the discussion then is how much time do we need that individual? I think that's where we kind of look at this 82,000, or is it too high or too low? But I would definitely be in favor of supporting having this position here, and that it would be dual purpose in supporting the council and then also supporting the Civilian Police Review Board.
Go ahead, please.
So, I won't say Andrew, the corporation counsel, whoever it is, if he's there or not. When we go to him or her, it is under confidence. It's basically client confidentiality. So that person is supposed to be representing us that way. If that person isn't, then that's when we need to make a change. To the best of my knowledge, the current corporation counsel hasn't done that. As far as the Civilian Police Review Board goes, there is money available within the fees for services within the corporation council. Should the CPRB need representation that's separate from the corporation council to hire. So I think there's money already there within fees for services, so all they need to do is request it.
So.
Yeah, something just flashed across me. Last night we were listening from the engineering department. They are engaging an outside attorney to help with contracts and documentation and things like that, and not utilizing our attorneys.
They're
That was mentioned last night.
engaging a engineering firm where the employee happens to be an attorney.
That's not what I discussed. They have the attorney, because I asked the question about AIA documentation, and that is coming from the attorney reviewing, outside attorney reviewing that.
But it's Tom Wilson's firm, who does work for the city, does work for Metroplex. His wife happens to be an attorney.
No, that just flashed across me, because if he was mentioning that he's using an attorney, what is the difference between
It sounds like
another
he has
attorney?
a semantic.
Yeah, I just want a clarification on that.
I think it was the AIA or A.
AIA document, yes.
That was the differentiation, because they were stamping the papers, and we don't got nice English.
We don't
We
got-
don't have one of those.
You know what you mean. All right.
Yeah.
But I'm not particularly thrilled. Engineering's got a separate.
Well, if that's the
I
case,
kind of felt that
then
way
can we use our,
But it sounds like it's an engineering firm,
Right,
not a separate
right.
counsel. He did, in his presentation, say he had his own attorney.
That's what flashed me. He
But
did
that
say that
probably wasn't,
he has his own attorney, because I asked who is reviewing his documentation, who is giving the go-ahead on a legal frame, setting, and that was it.
I actually looked on the chart that he gave us though, and there was no attorney listed.
Yeah. It's
He
one of
had a
the-
list of the outside consultants that he uses, and he did not list an attorney. I was kind of flipping to that when he said it.
No, I was just
It's like, oh,
cross-referencing
second
that,
layers.
because what was mentioned last night and what we're discussing here is
Well,
pretty much not far apart.
yeah, I mean, and
It's not far apart.
the good thing is if there is money that's already available for them, if they need to seek outside counsel, then I would be in favor of making sure that, why not make a line item for them so they can do that? I mean, if we're not, so they could just pull from, whatever line that the money is there now, then we can make sure that they have, their own line to do that. I mean, it's not, we're not, we wouldn't even be that we'd be spending more money, we just would be budgeting for them to do that. And, from what, I've heard and other council members have heard, that there might be a need there, so it's a very easy one then.
The law department has $100,000 for outside legal services.
And how are they, what's their spending like on that? Like,
The last few years, they were between 60 and 80,000. Mostly it comes up for when we have negotiations. That's what
And we've met a few of them when it comes to like legal.
Yeah.
Yes, outside attorneys.
Usually
Right,
it's
when it comes to
Those,
court.
those get paid by our insurance
Insurance
companies.
company,
because
right.
they're
Yeah,
lawsuits.
correct.
But we also have stuff to do, like negotiate with police or investigations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If there is a conflict, we've had cases where police officers are involved in an incident and officers end up in a conflicted position, bring in a counsel to represent one of the parties, so that they're independent counsel. Could you have a conflict where the mayor and the council don't agree? Now, that'd be very difficult, but if it didn't come up, again, would bring in outside counsel to give advice or, really, where it becomes more appropriate is if you're in a formal litigation, we're actually in court and somebody is proceeding on a formal action.
So we're saying to just go ahead and use it out of the fee for services that's currently existing in the law department?
Would be my quick thing, or if you think that's underfunded, to modify that
Modify it.
in a manner to,
Yeah, I would think that we would do well to make it clear, for the people who are serving on the board that is an option that's available to them. And I think that, I don't think we do any harm by designating, a certain amount of money, to budget for them in order to do that. I think that saying that, it's there is one thing, but designating a certain amount of money, budgeting to them for that purpose, if they choose to use it, they do it. If they don't, even better, I guess. But I think that there is something to be said about designating that money to them. So that would be my thing. So I could say we could increase, the line, but still there needs to be a designation, I would say specifically for these communities. That's what I would suggest. Oh, and the council.
And what was that last part?
And the council as well, just how we talking about using that person.
I made myself some notes here. Let's move on to any other item that we need to address.
Can I just be clear on, are we talking about increasing this $100,000 line or we're not? We want a separate line. Separate line for outside counsel under law that's specific to CPRB?
Well, we can do an A, so 402,
Yeah, that was a question.
401A,
Right.
and just put that,
I'm trying to.
title it,
Yeah, and
that's what it,
and I think that we were gonna engage, Corporation Council in the conversation I was a part of, right? And get a report, the Corporation Council's take on this and then for we reconvene, right? But we're gonna do that with everything, correct, right? To give the mayor and, get some time to review it and so.
go ahead, please, sorry, go ahead, I'm not watching it.
So I really don't see a need for a separate line. We have the fees. We're only using 60 or 80 and we're budgeting 100. I don't think we need to increase it. If it comes to where the services are being used, then we can do a budget and increase it so that there is money available for either council or the CPRB. But Andrew's gonna be the one, unless I misunderstood the mayor, hiring the outside counsel. So it should just stay within the fees for service for the legal department, in my opinion.
I think, I understand what you're saying, I just think that there's something that, this board, in the spirit in which this board was created in, was something very serious. There was commitments that were made to the public, And I think that we ought to demonstrate our commitment by significantly showing that we do that and making it significant and saying that there's a designated budget. I mean, what was their current budget right now?
5,000.
$5,000? You know what I mean? And that's for
Travel and training.
travel and training. And I think that we need to really demonstrate our commitment to what this board was put together to represent by making sure that they have all the resources that they need to do the job. Because if not, then what we're doing, and I'm not suggesting that anyone's saying that, so let's be clear, right? I'm not suggesting that. I'll be clear about that. What I'm saying is that if we're not, then all we're doing is kind of saying we're checking that box, but not really following through with our commitment, in my opinion, to the public to make it a substantial thing to do the very important job that was put together to do it.
So I hear what you're saying. I do want to, Mr.
No.
Okay. We talked about this extensively, and I think Mr. Williams would remember, and Ms. Porterfield, and well, also both of our Mr. Johns there. We all, during the I know, sorry. For the year that we met as a police reform and reinvention task force, we had extensive conversation about the Civilian Police Review Board, and its role and its needs. And, you know, basically that group had really made some decisions, correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of what was needed or et cetera. And at the time, Mr. Williams was, I think, co-chairing with Mr. Shave. And so, I mean, we definitely talked about it quite a bit, researched it, et cetera. So, I don't know, I mean, I guess that, you know, I don't know. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, because to your point, I mean, we talked about, you know, or it was discussed quite a bit, you know what I mean? And I think that it's one thing to talk about it, and it's another thing to do to support it. And I think that this is what, you know, from what I'm hearing from people who are a part of that board, you know, they need resources. And I think that, you know, that we want them to do the job and do it in a way, then in an efficient way, then we just need to efficient resource them. And I don't think we're saying too many different things with this. Mr. Williams, I'm sorry.
So I'd say Ms. Patrick was right. Definitely when I was co-chairing with Dick Shave, we did submit a series of recommendations, all of which were not fully considered, from being honest, or were just, let's kind of leave it at that. But I would say with the revolving door of new board members coming in and individuals like myself kind of taking a more back approach and observing more, there's been a lot of transition. So as these newer individuals are understanding these very influential roles, as Mr. Farley highlighted, I think it is important for us to fully empower them. And as he mentioned, we can do it in our words, but then also we need to make sure we're doing it in our actions. So I don't know what that looks like from a monetary standpoint, but I definitely would be willing to support having a separate designation so that it shows the community our sincerity with wanting to make sure that this board has all of its resources to do the work that it's empowered to do by the code.
Go ahead, please.
So the 82,000 isn't just for council, it would be for other, what would it be for?
Well, I think it started out as $82,000 for a research council for the city council and the
So, I mean, to give them a budget, another, for something other than the council?
Well, so they have a budget right now, but
Right.
the budget that they have is $5,000, and I
Right.
believe that that's for training and travel.
Right, which isn't a great deal of money for anyone.
Right.
So this 82,000 would be
Would be for their council.
for a council?
Yeah,
Okay.
for
So I think I would just like to recommend that, under the law department's budget, we throw in maybe another $30,000, not a separate line item, or something like that. So there's always enough money for them for the council for the corporation council to go to these services, and there it is for them.
But if you were to look
You
at
mean add it
page,
to the-
if you were to look at page 31, sorry.
Yep.
The police review board, A
Oh, that's what it
36,
is, 31?
31,
Okay, that's
A 3614, 404, fees for services. And we have $5,000 that is proposed,
Yes.
the
All
mayor's
they have to
proposal.
do is request.
Yeah.
Right, I can see more services for that, but the council just doesn't.
So we have optionality to put it under here, as a fees for service, or we put it under the law department's fee for service, but I would recommend that we separate it with a 404A, so we can track the cost, the usage, and see that, are we really hiring anybody? Because I don't like it, so we roll up to all the expense fees of service 404 together, because we had the issue with the, well, not issue, but we had back and forth with the Public Safety Foundation, where everything was rolled up into the fees for service line, and how do we able to track what actually was used, and Mr. Ferrari was able to give us a summary of it. We don't need that, we should avoid that. If we're funding a line, we should try to separate it, especially when it's benefiting our community directly. Go ahead.
So if I'm understanding correctly, I think this is kind of, we're in a place right now where it seems like what I'm gathering from the council, just what I'm gathering, is that everyone is kind of recognizing the importance of such a position. I think that what we're kind of going back and forth about is like, where does the line item sit? I think that's pretty much it, which I am relieved to say that I think that that's, you know, that's a good place to begin with. I would just strongly suggest to my colleagues that having a line item designated to something in a specific manner, I think that goes a long way with demonstrating our commitment to the important work they do, and that would, you know, just be my final thought.
I would be okay with adding some money to that line, as Mr. Toro just said as well. But I'd want to see, I really would want to see, like, what would it be used for? Because I think for counsel, or for legal counsel, right? I mean, that would be on a as needed basis. So in other words, are they going to break it down into? Is it all just going to be in fees for service? But I don't even know, there's probably a way that the accounting must. Oh yeah, Derek's actually
Alright,
knows.
so in the law department, there's an outside legal line, outside counsel line. So maybe if you're looking to separate it, you do police review board and do an outside legal counsel line. So you're gonna have a fees for services and a fee for service day. If you really wanna designate it and separate it, I think that's how you do it.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good.
And then our corporation counsel would set the criteria though for how that would be. In other words, you'd have to have some criteria for when you would contact that outside counsel. They can't just, none of us would be, that would be like me picking up the phone and saying, the outside counsel.
Very bad.
For the law department, I mean, I'm not gonna call and, you know what I'm saying?
Good. Well, it's the first time I'm hearing that an attorney hasn't been going to the review board meetings. In the past, it
Well, that's.
was done on a request basis. Sometimes you don't need them, sometimes you do need them. So we're here tonight, we thought, we're gonna do fine, we'll get through it. And the outside counsel line is used more for areas of either an outright conflict or looking for some higher level of specialization where we can't handle it in-house. So even if this line was there, there's probably gonna be most of the stuff that the Corporation Council could answer, provide advice to the board within the existing budget. Is there a conflicted position or something else, where we've had our close friend General Electric, who's we haven't met in a while, but if we challenge their assessment, that's not something that we do in-house. We look to bring outside counsel. Some of the labor negotiations, when we go to binding arbitration, which we haven't recently, again, we have a relationship with the county, they provide staff or in-house staff do it, but the arbitration section law is highly specialized, and we bring in firms that are trained to do that all the time and give us the best advice, so that, again, it would, in my mind, be somewhat driven on what the issue is that's coming before the board and who that counsel might be. And again, I'd say generally we can probably handle things in-house and do it with a high level of confidence that the board is happy with the representation and information they're getting.
Yeah, so I agree, I don't think that, thank God we're talking about it either, or I would just say that it would be yes and, so, like, yes, we obviously, even if, like, to your point, if that line item is available, if it's something that we can handle without having to use those funds, then let's do that, right? That's just fiscally responsible to do that. But then I also think that then there's that value of having that line there, if in case that it is needed, it's there, and the people who serve on that board know that it's there. They understand that it's there for them and it's designated for man. Again, I think that goes a long way. But just type of the language that we've been, the way we've been speaking, and kind of the real commitment that we made to the community around this. I don't think that we need to kind of think back to why we're in the position to have such a board, and across our country. And I don't want to just look like we're just paying lip service to it. Which again, for a record, I don't think anyone's saying that.
Well, can I just ask
Go
a
ahead,
question,
yeah.
because it
No,
sounds
no.
like, I mean, you and the mayor, there was an attorney that used to, in other words, somebody from our corporation council
Yeah, well,
office used to go regularly
when I
to-
was on the board,
Oh, you
many
were?
years ago, yes, we used to have an attorney every meeting.
from the corporation
Yes,
council?
from the corporation council.
So maybe
And a
that's,
few years ago, I asked the
we
question,
should be doing that then.
Yeah.
I think we should.
then I asked the question, no attorney here, and they were like, no. But I didn't dive into it, and then I was like, no attorney shows up at this meeting anymore.
Said no.
It was like that. So are they, I mean, I don't know if they were aware that they need to request a service, and we can reach out to them and correct that.
Yeah, I think so.
And
That's
they
something
need
that we
legal
can-
advice
And it's
at
not
those
very many,
meetings.
it's just a matter of course that would happen monthly.
But again, I don't think it's either or. I think that if we have the capacity to support them at their regular meetings through Corporation Council, let's do that. That costs us nothing because it's there, right? So let's do that. That's something we should do. And let's make sure that they're have the resources that they need in the case that they do need an outside counsel. Let's do both, because they won't spend it if they don't need it. It's there, and therefore we can kind of remedy what's happening right now in-house. And I think that checks all the boxes we're talking about.
I think it's just as simple as telling whoever chair is, like,
Here's what
the
the
city attorney will be there if you need something further, just request it. I mean, I don't think any of us are gonna say,
When,
no.
when I was on the council, almost every case that we review, we will refer to the attorney for some guidance. Not say that they're much involved in hand-to-hand or to help us make a decision, but there's sometimes clarification, can we do this, can we not do this, things like that. No, you can't get this, you can't get that. So they're right there and they're getting their answers. We were getting our answers to many questions.
And you thought that was happening also? you said.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure if there's a staff that on an every meeting basis, but on an as-need basis, so that, again, sometimes the board handles what I'll call routine things, and Carl knows it better, than other times there are more complex issues that come before it, and they're more complicated and require more in-depth analysis and review.
I mean, we're looking at, just for reference, we're looking at 2,000 here. We were reading the news recently, Albany Police Review Board is asking for $2+ million. So I'm just throwing that out, 82,000 versus 2.2 million.
They also have a very different
Could we
system.
refer our questions to all?
No.
They would be able to-
Or ask them to,
We can actually, why not we hire them pay them $82,000. I'm just throwing that back in. We'll approve the 82,000 and give it to them via contract. Just kidding.
So,
I think that across the board, there are, yes, we need it, but how much money?
And where's
And
it
that's-
sit?
Yeah, so that's where it sits right now.
Yeah, I think-
And where do we put it? We have, the police review board has a line, the law department has a line for fee, where do we put it?
if you wouldn't mind, just explaining that one more time, because the way.
I mean, if you
made it
want
pretty
to
clear.
designate it, we already have a police review board line items. So I don't see why not putting, outside legal services under that, especially if you want to designate and separate it.
Yes.
For that purpose. If not, I mean, if it's under the law department, that makes sense that way too. It's really up to the council, how you guys want to do it, but either way, I think it would work.
Yeah, I think the best idea, because we already have a police review board line, my recommendation is to put it there as a 404A.
440 outside legal counsel.
Yeah, 440, sorry. And have that separated so we can track the cost, track the usage, stuff.
Yeah,
Because if we're gonna put money there, there needs to be some usage, and if it's not usage, we need to track it, so next year we know that if we're not using, I'm just gonna get 82,000, then we don't need to fund 82,000.
No.
Go ahead,
Could you
please.
set up something though, and I mean, obviously they'd have to have input and our corporation council, I'm not saying us set it up, but I mean,
Yeah,
somebody from the police review board and the corporation council to meet and say, and maybe the commissioner, but to say, here's what this would be used for versus here's what you would do with the attorney that we don't have to pay any money for, from our own, office. Do you know what I mean? Like, just so that there's some sort of, I guess that, unless it's already in the bylaws of the civilian police review board in terms of when they would go to an outside counsel, et cetera, I don't know.
So I'm not looking to talk about the bylaws, but I am talking about, in our city code, it's not spelled out like that. It just says that they have the opportunity to do that. So, and to me, it would be a case-by-case basis. It's, you don't know until you get to the case, whether there's a thought that there's a thought that there may be a conflict
Gotcha.
with our in-house
I hear you.
counsel versus that. So I believe it's a case-by-case basis.
So if somebody from our own office was there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would probably say, okay, this is something that we need outside counsel on. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying.
yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't have the legal expertise. If I was a volunteer on the Civilian Police Review Board,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have the legal expertise to be able to know whether I needed outside counsel or whether I needed,
I get you. Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to save a little money. I mean, I hear the concept of why it's needed, I get that.
I don't wanna, I wouldn't want to get into a place where we're kind of like, micromanaging the task of that board, right?
We don't even have, I mean,
we have the authority.
we don't have
Right,
anything to do with it.
so I would be really in favor of putting, less barriers, in front of them to access the resources that they need to do that very important job. I would, that's probably the only, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, like, since we all agree that there's money there should be money there. If we're just talking about where we're gonna place it, I think we really need to place it where it needs to go to say, hey, this is for you to do, to use it as you need it. Now, I mean, if we think that people on the board are gonna be like, maybe using their council budget for like, closing on their house or something, like, we're about to do something like that, that's one thing. Nah, I'm joking. But like, if they're like, if we trust them to sit, serve in that capacity, then I don't want the messaging to be that, that's all. But
Have anybody in the council, or do you know if any of the board members have had any conversations with Commissioner Devine? I hired him because of his broad background and experience. He's a public defender in Albany, was a private attorney, Supreme Court judge, appellate division. We're have that skill set available to us. And, you know, if there's issues or things that come up, that people should reach out to them. And it, you know, Judge Iden's before him, it also sets the tone within the department where we don't tolerate people making poor choices, things that are incorrect or improper.
And I think I'll definitely, because when the people I spoke to, I didn't make that recommendation. And now here, I definitely will do that moving forward. I think that that's something that we should do as well.
Go ahead, please.
So, listening to everyone speak, there's a number of different options that we're presenting to this review board that would significantly benefit their long-term success. So as the Public Safety Committee Chair, I take responsibility for making sure that the Civilian Police Review Board Chair is aware, and I can kind of coordinate and facilitate so that our Corporation Council has that close conversation with them, because this very much is going to be like training wheels, like learning how to acclimate all of these resources for the benefit of their tasks and duties. So definitely I'm in support of, like, Mr. Farley beats it to a nauseum, and, right, is that what you say? Doesn't have to be or.
Yes, and.
But it's how do we incorporate this into our daily, like, work practices? Because if you don't use it, you essentially, like, lose it in a sense. So for me, per se, if it's truly, how do we support you, and what is designated in the code, that is this.
I'm just gonna go back. I mean, we have a line for the police review board, fees of service. So I think it's appropriate that we can add a line under there. And to place that money there, or whatever we decide on. So I think we should move forward. We have an understanding that yes, it's needed, how much is needed. I will leave that for next Wednesday when we come back to.
The last minute?
So we're not saying what the
Well, I
number's
think
gonna
it'll
be?
give-
Unless we want to give a number right now and pass it out.
I
Because
think
this
in
seems
terms
to be a
of
hot
overall
topic.
big budget, how
Yes.
are we gonna subtract from
Yes.
someplace else? We
Well,
need to have a number that,
Yeah.
both Anthony and the mayor would be coming back to us with, you know.
I mean, we have seen over the years that they came to us requesting funds, they've submitted documents to us, they've asked us over time, you know, budget and things like that, and wanted more additional support staff. Is it $2,000 enough for them to carry out the function that they need to? I don't think so. But we gotta start at somewhere. We have to start at somewhere to give them some funding to help them move forward.
Wait,
Can't give them,
I just wanna be clear, the 82,000 is only for outside counsel, period, nothing else, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, because the reason I'm saying that is that we put 100,000 to our legal department, which uses outside counsel a little bit more, because initially it was put in here as also working with the city council, but clearly that's off the table.
I mean, I'm just
Right?
saying, I only was the only person I think that said it, but I don't think we need that, but.
So I'm asking, are you saying that that's not something that we're,
well,
I'm asking you
Let me
specifically?
make sure I understand your question.
So initially it was put in here to research council and it was said for the city council and the CPRB, but now we're taking the city council out of that.
well, I don't think.
That's my
I
question.
don't think it was
Got an
discussed.
opinion on that.
That was my
There
question.
was only
So
one
my opinion
opinion.
is no, absolutely, you're correct.
So then where the line item sits
Then
is
it's
gonna
not-
matter,
yeah.
because we can't put city council under CPRB.
Right, but what I was saying is that, so if it's the same way like we have, you know, split lines, and so this person, 0.5 is out of water and the 0.5 is sewer, right? We see that happen multiple times in the budget, correct? So then that would make sense to do it just like that. I'm just saying that a portion of that budget line needs to be designated to that police community review board. It needs to sit there. I think that is the commitment that we need to have. So
Okay,
that's-
so I was having a different understanding, I thought that we had taken city council off the table, that was what I was.
I was the
hearing.
only person that
You
gave
said
an
that?
opinion, and now I think Mr. Farley has given an opinion.
Okay.
But we haven't heard from everybody else around whether they think that the city council part
Okay,
is needed. I personally think we have the corporation council, and for the times that I've needed a legal question answered, or, you know, I've gone to him, I'm trying to think of a specific example to say, oh, you know, is this something we can do in the meeting, or do we need to go go into executive session or something like that. I'm making that up, but I'm just saying, those kinds of things are the only times that I think I sat with him early on to hear a little bit more about, during the police review, the police transformation process. I asked some questions about redaction. I learned a lot about that during that time. I asked, I went up and sat and understood their process and went and talked to the staff about that. But it's been very rare for me in these 3 years to have to, Andrew's been able to help me in whatever way I needed help, but that's just me. I mean, I don't know what the rest of you feel.
I mean, I don't have an issue having a research council assist the city council whenever the need is, and also assist the police review board. I have no issue either two.
I'm just figuring out where the money goes, that's what I wanna know. Where we're putting that,
Well,
if we're in agreement.
Well, one is gonna have to go on the city council, a partial split there, and one will have to be 2 lines, one on the police review board and one on the city council. Divide that money. Go ahead, please.
I don't think we need one. As a council, if we do, we request fees for services. If it's denied, we do the budget. We changed it and we hire our own, as a consultant as we need. So, so we have $100,000 in there. He only uses 60 or 80, so he can handle 90 to probably 98% or more of the CPRB stuff. Why wouldn't you put like 10 or 15,000 to start under CPRB for lawyer fees? See how it is. If they need more, they ask for it, and we'll approve it.
Makes sense.
2 things I would say to that. One, I have a question for you, saying like, if we requested something and it was denied.
Yeah, so if we go to Andrew and we're not satisfied, and we say we need outside counsel, and somehow Andrew doesn't do it or whatever, which I'm not sure you can, or.
Right, so that was the point I was trying to figure out, because I was gonna say, wait a minute.
I'm just saying, I'm just going worst case scenario.
Okay.
We can come as a council and say, we need $25,000, I'm making up a number.
Yeah, sure.
$25,000 to hire a council to handle X thing for us. And we approve it. And I would take the money out of the fees for services if we're gonna put my thing, 10 or 15, take it out of fees for services for a legal department and put it under that.
Makes sense.
And the mayor has to approve that contract. That consultant agreement.
Well, he has to approve all of our contracts, any contract.
The mayor says, I'm not approving it, no. What do we do?
If he vetoes it, we override his veto.
Excuse me.
So again, I said we bring in
Yeah, I think so.
outside counsel when there's conflicted positions. So if that evolved to that point.
We'll move on. I don't want to be.
Yeah, I think we're going around on this item here.
So we're leaving it? How are we leaving it? Or we just leaving it?
No, my suggestion was that we split the 0.5 for the civilian police review board and 0.5 for city council. That was my suggestion. The same.
So essentially, it really boils down to that we take 82 divided by 2 and put half the CPRB and half for the city council? Is that what you're?
I mean, for the whole city, they're using 100,000 if you're doing it specifically for 2 things. Maybe you wanna do 50 and do 25 and 25.
Bring it down.
Well,
I mean, just saying.
Or we could think of it like this, right? Because I think that it might even be a little more fiscally responsible to do it this way. If the whole budget is $100,000, but we're only using 60 of it in-house, then we can take that remaining 40 of it and then put 20 of it into, for city council and 20 of it for the police community review board.
And so not add another 82, is what you're saying?
Yeah, if we're only using 60 $60,000 out of the 100, right?
Well,
That's on
depends,
average,
you know, you
60
never know
to
how it
80.
goes.
So therefore you
That's
don't
our
have to,
average.
we're not taking more
We
money.
We haven't taken out, some years it will shift.
Because of negotiations.
It's
I
just
think
the
what you-
nature of the randomness of it.
But I think
Yeah, we
yeah,
have.
we really did, we really did.
So I would suggest, and I think it was already suggested, by Mr. Palmine, we just add a little bit more to it. I agree that maybe if we took away from the 100,000, then they may go over.
Okay,
But we definitely need to land on the space.
okay, so,
I mean, Mr. Ferrari had a good idea, I mean, split it, I mean, 2 lines, one under, is it council, one under police review. And go with that. Look at historically, I wouldn't agree to cut or to reduce or to add on to the law department. If you look historically, the line go up or down. And if they were to treat outside council, they may not have enough money. So we need to add, whatever we're doing,
I never knew that.
add more service with the same money. That's my recommendation.
yeah. But, yeah, we took way too much time on this, so we're not really far apart on that at all.
So
Okay.
let me use Mr. Ferrari number 2525 and split it.
There we go.
And let's get over this.
Yes, sir.
Please do.
So it's just
25, 25 under.
And I'm gonna put them both under 440, outside legal.
Outside legal service on
That way,
city
you can tell,
council.
so next year, when you come back to do the budget, you'll have an idea of what.
Yes. That's the main reason why I wanted to have it separated.
Makes sense.
And this, while we're talking about CPRB, I think that they also, it actually was requested that our corporation council and perhaps our public safety chair kind of come and go over what the code actually says they should do. There was actually a discussion where they wanted to not be a part of NACOL when clearly our legislation said they should be. So that's going to be a request. I'll send you an email specifically about that.
And can I add though, in terms of, thank you for saying you want to take the lead on this, but I would recommend, maybe including the commissioner as well, as the mayor suggested, when you talk with the CPRB and the council.
Absolutely.
That sounds like a good idea, because I think that's a big part of his role.
Yeah. Moving forward, I think it's, I would make that proposal.
Yep. All right, I think we're finally moving on. Let's move on to any other item that we need to discuss. It's a Friday evening. Gonna be respectful of everyone's time.
Well, I do want to
Go
say,
ahead, please.
the water, sewer, and trash, eliminating the increase in the fees. I mean, I just wanted to hear, it seemed like you needed to increase those fees, so I don't know, I just wanted to hear what that was about. What would be the total revenue that we would lose?
Well, just on the fees, it's 1.1 million general fund.
Yeah,
Water and sewer, I believe it's, I have the numbers someplace.
Can you repeat that, 1.1 where?
1.1 million.
On the garbage?
1.1,
For the garbage,
yeah. Yeah, the water and sewer, you know,
Not the numbers, I don't know if you want this, so.
I can try to look it up here.
Right here someplace. Oh, here it is. So it's, we reduced water by 426,000, and sewer by 773,000.
700 and,
$73,032.
So basically another 1.1.
And also, you're looking to reduce property tax by 1%, another 310,000.
where's that?
way at the end.
Way at the end, so just between garbage and property tax reduction, you're talking 1.4 million.
That's 310,629.
Right, that's 1.4 million.
It's more than that.
And then, I was just going just quickly through the top of my head, just looking at the reductions in ARPA, that's another 3,143,000. So between that and the 1.4 million, is that 1.4 is 4.6 million that we'll have to take right out of our fund balance. So,
But you mentioned us now that when we talk about some big numbers like the $2.4 million, and then look at the question at the answer to Mr. Palomini question on the 63 openings. That's a $5.3 million there that we budgeted last year, and these positions have not been filled. So this one is available, so I can look at it. And then we're adding,
But we are
That money is not available.
no, I'm saying not available, we're just look at it. This 5.3 available to hire people. And then we're adding 15 more positions onto the 20.
Wait. So we got 5.3 million that we didn't fill this year, and we're still looking at a $2 million loss.
projection.
Yes. So,
And then plus all these, 1.4, 426, 773, and
so where's all this money
310.
gonna come from? So if we're running a $2 million loss by not filling $5.3 million in positions, where would we be if we had those positions filled?
and some of them
So
aren't
then
filled,
the big
remember
question
that.
is then why are we adding more position then? Another 15 position if we're at a loss?
When you heard the
Yeah.
staff came in, they told you why they needed more people.
But, and
I
some of those
understand that.
positions.
I'm saying, where's the money gonna come from? So if we're cutting all this stuff,
That's what I'm saying, that's why I said that a lot of these jobs were coming through ARPA. That was $3.1 million, and you're cutting that out too.
Why are we cutting out ARPA? Wait, we
With
have
the
to look at
positions
all
that were
this.
funded by ARPA,
Yeah.
which is a question that was asked by several council members, like, what are we gonna do going forward in terms of that?
if you add that up in unfilled positions, it's 9.1 million. Plus a $2 million loss, that's 11.1 million. And then if we do these other things, then you're starting to get into 12, 13, 14.
Million.
Yes. And we only have 16 million in fund balance, which can go very quickly with
Don't wanna get
$1
rid of
million
that.
If you do
water.
12 million in 1 year. So, see, the plan is for stabilization. What we're thinking, this is still a COVID year. We figure 2023 is probably the last of it.
Last.
And this, during 2023, like we mentioned in the talk, our revenue should start stabilizing and start increasing again.
But you're talking about overcoming 5 million plus in revenue.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's not gonna happen.
That's when you have to raise fees. I mean, our expenses are going up. You can't put your income down, you know?
I mean, the broad question is raising fees to continue to provide the service, and then we're hurting the taxpayers by doing this. We have to look back and say, okay, yes, providing the service, providing needed service, but then we just tax them, continue to tax the taxpayers. I mean, this is like raising water, sewer, and garbage. It's fees, but it's taxes.
What I'm suggesting is if you don't raise garbage, don't take away the ARPA too. Keep the tax flat. I mean, just find ways that help, let's get through this year, and then next year you'll see things will be better, hopefully, unless we have a third world war or whatever,
I'm not saying not to get rid of the fee increases. I'm just saying all this other stuff, plus what we're not having, now you're talking 12, 13 million easy.
So in terms of the fees, my thought on that was that, and because I've heard from people, is that, well, first of all, it's really just another way for us to collect some taxes, frankly, is what's being said. And the other part is something we've been discussing a lot at the council, and that is renters. So if homeowners get this fee, they're passing it on. So, yes. They're not gonna say, I'll absorb it.
Landlords, right. Landlords. are-
Yeah, landlords.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna pass
They
it
have
on,
to.
they're not gonna absorb,
Right.
that. And so we're already talking about people feeling like they can't afford to pay the rent that are currently, so they're clearly not gonna be able to afford rent that's increased. And that increase happens because we have increased the garbage fee, which we did 2 years ago, by the way.
So I too have been hearing from people that they absolutely don't want those fees increased. My question is, just in terms of being, fiscally responsible, I hear what you're saying, those are good points, I wasn't thinking about that. But where are we gonna get the $2,299,000 that represents? Like where else would we, what are we gonna cut out of the budget in order to save that, might as well say 2.3
What is
Plus
our-
you're asking to take away some ARPA funding,
What is our fund balance?
16.3 million.
No, water, sewer, and garbage.
What's our what?
The fund balance for water.
Garbage does not have a fund balance.
Water, sewer.
Water and sewer. I sent it to you the other day. You have that paperwork?
That's all right, you don't need to get up on it.
What now? It was with the, we did a purple one.
Maybe paper.
No, I don't think we're gonna.
It was the financial, I sent you the actual financials, the audited report.
Yes, I have all of those.
You have it? Okay.
I would have to figure out which one is which, but
Okay.
this is like,
So I'll look and I'll find it. I thought you had it handy. That's
here's
fine.
the water fund. Here's the water fund. Here's the sewer fund.
Okay. Okay. The fund balance of the sewer fund is $12,725,943. They had a $167,000 deficit. In 2020, they had a deficit of $744,000. Oh wait, in 2020, they had a deficit of $167,661. In 2021, last year, there was a deficit of $744,787. The fund balance is $11,981,000, went from $1,272 to $11,981 per sewer. In the water fund, 2020, the fund balance was $9.6 million. And in 2021, the fund balance, there was a deficit of $57,060, and the fund balance in 2021, or right now, is $9,604,000.
So just as a point of clarification, when we have a deficit in those, we don't take the money out of the reserve.
Well, it goes down, so we started, it goes down by that amount.
We do take it, okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
how you-
really,
that's how you
We
pay
have
for
to
the
start-
difference.
you move the 700 and something thousand deficit out of the,
Right, it's-
okay, I
Yeah.
just, that's fine, that's
We're
all.
now going to start payments on the upgrades that we've made.
Yeah, for the water.
Yeah, and we're talking just for the sewer,
sewer,
we're looking at
that's
$57 million, 28, 22,
For the three.
$50 million. That's about
Water tank.
$1 million a year just in principal fees. But and like I say, if you want to not waste water, water looks okay for now, we're building those wells. But you got the sewer, you're gonna need that just to pay the debt. Garbage, I don't know, you know what the problem with garbage is, you have to figure that out. Is what I'm saying, if you don't want to increase garbage, you can't take away the $3 million of ARPA funding that you have in here.
Why are we thinking about taking away the ARPA funding? I mean, except for the longer term
Well,
question of how do we make it up next year or after
In the years
ARPA
to
goes
come.
away? But is that what people are worried about?
When we met a couple of weeks ago, we were trying to address the last set of funding for ARPA.
Oh.
McCarthy had mentioned to us that he recommended to us that we should hold off on making any more allocation until he comes back to us with his detail of the project reward, if it's overrun, are we meeting the deadline, and to see if he has enough money that we awarded to this project. And then we can able to continue to award any additional fund. And that's why I made a note here on the second page with regards to the ARPA funding for the parks. I think we are pretty much all of us in agreement to fund the parks there. But how much money are we going to allocate to these parks? Then we'll need to wait on Mayor McCarthy to come back to us with those details as to what additional fund is needed for those awards immediately. And then we'll move forward.
Okay, so my takeaway from that meeting where we put things on pause was because I figured now when I got this budget from the mayor, that was the mayor's recommendations on how to use the ARPA funds, that this was us moving forward from that pause to use the ARPA funds to do this. Now, I still have I was one of the people that raised the question of, how are we gonna replace that $5.8 million? But after.
Yeah, that's not the case because the mayor and the staff is still working on getting those details to us.
Well, can we ask him
Well,
since he's here?
Take it away, somebody wants to ask.
The primary money that Congress allocated was to create stability within municipalities. Then they granted other money to do incentives within their communities, respective communities, and put a lot of flexibility in that. I've put forth budgets that used money last year, and I'm looking to have the council's support again going into 2023, and would still look to use some ARPA money in 2024 so that we have a stable fiscal position within the city. And we still have to generate the revenue to cover our expenses. We've granted contractual raises across the board. The police department is still up, will be up this year. In the document I've given you, the budget I've given you, I believe is fiscally prudent for the long-term stability of the city and to continue the renaissance that we have. And you know, I welcome the discussion and debate, but some of these scenarios that you're putting forth are going to hinder our ability when we go to the bond market and just, I believe, the long-term fiscal stability of the city.
Bankrupt in 2 years, it's like,
I think I said that.
oh, did you say that? Okay. And he's got a PhD in economics.
Doesn't mean much.
Let's skip over this and go to any other item that we need to discuss. We can always come back to water, sewer, and garbage.
Go ahead.
Hey, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, please.
The stipends, I don't agree with, and quite frankly, the ones that are in the budget, I think we should eliminate with the exception of code enforcement. Your management, your salaried position.
So you're saying eliminate all stipend except for
The ones in, I think it's
The
code.
standby.
Yeah, the standby.
The standbys.
and like code.
Well,
Yeah.
That's not
standby-
stipend, that's standby.
Well, not the
contractual
standby.
obligation that we use the incentive, we did it originally for the building inspector. It's, I've seen him more after midnight than 9 to 5.
Right,
Water department, standby. And can I
Go
just,
ahead,
yeah, so,
go ahead.
I'm in agreement with this, with removing the stipends. You know, when you sign up for the position, you're on salary. Work for the New York State Division of the Budget, that's your pay, you don't get any stipend, even though you work for 102 hours a week. So, I am not in favor of the stipends.
Not on the list.
well, which ones?
Talking, there was some additions here, but I'm also saying take them out of the budget.
Right,
And what, you know what that would represent?
it's not that much money.
It's not much, it's
It's
probably
probably
30 or 40,
20,000.
50 grand, something like that.
No, I wouldn't say we're near that.
No.
Yes, Mr. Ferrari, you did mention, we asked the question was asked on the floor, why do we need the stipend? And can you just repeat? Sorry to have people repeat it, but just for the
Well,
clarity.
we know
The
it
reason we
is.
have stipends is like the mayor says, the building inspector, you know, he gets $3,000 a year stipend, but he's there 24/7, like at midnight. He sees them more after midnight than whatever. We have a stipend for the engineer because he works and manages the golf course, you know. We have a stipend for myself and Derek because you know, we go to all the meetings, you know, all after hours. Who else gets a stipend? We have the Bureau of Service gentleman because he's on 24 call, manager gets a stipend. And our one other guy would be Joe Panjone because he's on 24/7, he gets a stipend.
Does he get a stipend and standby pay?
He does not get, no, he's management.
So he just, no
Management
standby,
doesn't get
just
standby
stipends.
pay.
Stipends,
Yeah.
got it.
I had originally put that in years ago for managers who I was calling on a regular basis after hours, whether incidents or events, where I want them out of bed, at a scene, no questions asked.
Standby.
No,
Not standing.
Oh, the stipends.
Stand by, get $100, $100 a call. Plus
That
the
has expanded since that. And some people
That I
that
can
now
understand.
there's not a sense of urgency, it's scheduled, but again, that's the discretion of the council.
That I can understand. Just doing your job and going to meetings and putting in extra hours is just part of your salary.
So as I kind of process through that, I think like, so, you know, my original thought was, well, you know, hearing, you know, from the staff, and I think we all have, you know, said, you know, especially under the mayor's leadership, they've been doing a really good job, and they've been kind of rising, you know, above, you know, expectations. And I just think that, like, so if I'm a staff member, and my original thought was, do they have autonomy of their schedule? So could they kind of like shift their hours and you know, so if you're gonna be at a meeting, then maybe you're not here at 9 o'clock in the morning, maybe that day you can come in at 11 o'clock. But the reality of that is, those 2 hours, we need you here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when it's like that, so that's why, you know, I would, you know, and because, you know, I think it makes up such a small number, you know, every dollar counts here, but I think that those are dollars wisely spent, in my opinion. So I support this stuff.
And not for nothing too, a lot of times I come in the middle of the night too, when there's insurance emergencies, because they want me, because I'm the guy that does the insurance stuff.
The city used to grant comp time to management employees. The council has subsequently changed that, where there is no comp time or overtime that is allocated for management employees. Again, so it is somewhat of a conflicted.
When did the comp time change?
Which comes every year. I
The mayor
can't
said that
recall,
they did.
It's on the website.
way before, so we should look at that.
Well, except that, I mean, again, I don't know how it is in a public municipality, but, you know, in other workplaces, the state sets laws on what's an exempt versus a non-exempt employee.
Right.
An exempt employee, I always mix it up, but one of those cannot get overtime. Like when I was working, I could not get overtime. I just worked until I finished my work. Whether it was, you know, 8 in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, you know, but that was a private, obviously not a public.
So I just want to, because what council did that?
That was way before.
And when
us.
was that?
I think we,
Have to go back.
It was a while ago.
yeah.
What I'm saying is I don't think that we can, I think we'd have to research with
Mhm.
the corporation
Our
council,
research council.
whether exempt or non-exempt. I mean, if it's the same for a municipality as it is in private industry.
Whether we can give them stipends?
Well, I don't, I personally, no offense, because I think you all work hard and I agree
Very
with
hard.
Mr. Farley that everybody's, you know, going above and beyond, but, you know, I mean, if part of your job is attending a meeting after hours, it's part of your job, but, again, I appreciate the work that you're doing, but I'm just saying, again, I've always worked not in a public setting though, so might be different.
So I think
in office, I mean, not your person.
I've been here all through the night.
I think we're discussing the legality of a stipend. That is very different. What I cannot support is hearing every single person that sat in that seat telling them, we appreciate your service to this city. You are going to get less money. That is a version of a pay cut. And I cannot look them in the eye and tell them, we're going to need you to not only repeat that, but go beyond the following year, because we don't know the expectations of COVID. How? As we've heard multiple times, we're competing with industries that are far exceeding our salary limits. So the fact that we have individuals still here that are still striving to improve our city is a benefit, but a luxury that we should not take for granted. So that is why I can't support eliminating stipends.
And you look at it, so the stipend is here because there's no comp time, and that's something I ask, I don't know if I asked you or somebody asked, why is the city, maybe I asked the question to myself, why is no comp time here? Because you work 4 days, 10
Did you
hours,
answer yourself?
and then Friday, I'm dreaming, the budget is driving us crazy. Yeah, so that's something maybe we're gonna look at as a council, if it was there, why it was removed, and maybe we look at
I'm gonna
doing
put-
some,
I put a note to go find
Yeah.
it.
So I wouldn't really have any issue with the comp time increase. You don't wanna get rid of the stipends, fine, but I don't think we should increase them, I don't think we should give extra. I mean, quite frankly, your management, that's the job. If you didn't like that, then you shouldn't have taken the job in the first place, no offense. But, you know,
I often say it to myself, 30 years. They couldn't get a raise for 10 years. you
quite
know,
frankly, a
but
lot
that
of
was
us
my
have
choice.
management positions and we do what we have to do.
Yeah.
And the benefits in the public sector are much better in general
That's right.
than the private sector. So there is that piece.
You said
So-
are or are not?
Are.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
can I ask,
No, you can't.
we put in a lot of time ourselves as council members, so are we entitled to this
First day.
stipend? No, seriously, above and beyond what's expected of us.
So not only have we, don't get stipends, we haven't had raises, so.
Understood, yes, and, again, appreciate all the work that's done on every level by all of us.
So,
I'm a
let's,
for you.
let's.
If you take away my stipends, I'm not going
It is a
anywhere.
small part of it. Why don't we-
So, Mr. Williams, you're in
something-
favor of the $10,000 stipend for Mr. Ferrari, so we wouldn't.
Well, that's not
and
just
Derek.
for me,
No,
that's
no,
for-
and Derek,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So going
We'll keep it
ahead,
at 3,
moving
that's fine.
forward,
Actually, it's keeping it at 6.
Well,
We'll take
split between
Up to
people.
Oh, okay, so you each get
Yeah,
half?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to agree with that, all together?
Mr.
No,
Ordinary.
I don't have to.
Go ahead, please, please.
So if you take away, I'm not gonna cry.
So a lot of people see me wear my Ortho New York gear, and it's not because I just have a
No,
deep
of course.
infatuation for wearing this. I'm coming right from work. More times than not, as a salaried employee, I'm a manager, you're doing the extra hours. I yield to that, I get that.
Right.
What I think we're missing is when you enter a contract, that says the president's. So the precedent has been that they've given stipends. So I think to alter that agreement after they continue to do the work, that's a separate conversation, different from what we know within our personal employments.
And I've conceded not to take away the stipend, I
Right,
just said
right.
don't increase
Let's
it.
move
No,
on.
I'm
Let's move
responding
on
to
from
this.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Management employees, there's no contract for that. It is determined by the annual budget when it's adopted by the city council.
I mean,
I'll concede as
I
well.
have no
And that's
issue.
also the city council salary under the charter has to be set in the annual budget.
Yeah. I don't have an issue giving a stipend or two to, employee who deserve it, because I'm coming from the private sector, we are salaried, or we get bonuses, which is kind of like stipend.
It's nice.
So, it's nice. And we will work, someday at 2:00 in the morning and we don't get overtime, but we're knowing that the fact that down the road we're getting bonuses, whereas the individual working here, doing, they're salary, no overtime, but a small, stipend to offset the time that they're here, not every day of the week, not every day of the year, but recognize the work that they're doing, we need to do that. We started this last year when we did the budget with the management employees, and we give them, some of them what they asked for, most of them what they asked for. And now we'll follow up with, May is asking for 4%, there's a recommendation here to go across the board for 3%. We always look out for our management employees, and a small little token doesn't hurt, they help us as a city.
I think we're ready to move on
Yes,
from
and-
that.
Well, I have this one. So you get a bonus because your firm is highly profitable. We aren't. And so there's a difference there. If we were making a huge surplus every year, okay, let's go at it. But
Look at the mayor saying there is a surplus.
We even had $3 million
Surplus, so there is a $3 million surplus, so
I proposed that a couple of years ago. If you save the city millions of dollars, now we can't do it, I guess, because of state law,
Would
but
be the mayor would have to get the money, because he's the guy that.
if you're an employee, you save millions of dollars, there should be some sort of reward for it.
No, exactly, you touched on a point that we were working on a review.
But we can't do it
We
because
can't
you're
do it
giving away
because
public money.
Public money, yeah, we were working
Now,
on a
I think I
review.
remember you guys doing it.
Yeah,
Let's look at the comp time, I don't have a problem with that, let me
Believe
stipend.
me,
What about the
comp
employees
time
that
is
go above
100%
and beyond?
more
Maybe they're not
expensive than-
expecting of
But it's
doing
not-
it.
You're only
it
doing
totally
it.
That was gonna be, that was gonna be my question, because I was gonna say,
It is,
like,
it's probably like
all right, all right, all right.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's huge.
that was my point, my question.
Let's
I
have
made
one,
$3,000 this week.
let's have one speaker at a time, and let's move forward.
Let's put that in the
Let's be
parking lot,
considerate, please,
around
it's 8 o'clock.
the discussion
Yeah,
of comp
we-
time
we have to
and
have a
return to
meeting.
that. Let's
We
put
have
it in
Ms.
the.
Porterfield make a note on that, so we'll put it back, we'll have it on the agenda to discuss it and see what we can do in terms of comp time versus stipend or any other thing like that. Yeah,
But so we still haven't figured out how we're gonna replace, if we take away the water, sewer, and, trash, did we did go to the restroom in there for a few minutes,
We'll have
but,
to take it out of fund balance, but what I'm saying, you can't take that out, plus take out the ARPA money too, because then you're looking at, what I said, $7.9 million added to the $3 million that we already planned to do, so we're looking at, what do we say, almost $12 million, right? So say, if you don't, you can't take away the ARPA monies if you don't wanna raise those fees, you can't.
well, I think this is why I echoed earlier that, we need to look at the numbers, the left, right side numbers.
well, right, that's
Yeah.
right. Oh, I
And
see.
that's
So
why,
you wanna
that's
just
why I
keep
mentioned
going.
before we go into this, because I was not able to put numbers. I mean,
Gotcha.
I was able to pull numbers from the book as much as I can.
Sure, okay.
But then, and that's why I said
That's
it
the
earlier
point.
before, is that give, Mr. Ferrari time to put the numbers together, like this, we
Gotcha.
have 426,
Okay.
773,
This is just off the top of my
1.1.
head, I just went.
Then we'll, we've done it in the past where we said, okay, here is the number it's gonna cost us, here is the amount of money that we have, here, where do we move it around from? I know it's,
And
Well, we
even,
have to see-
even though I'm getting comp time,
We
I'm
have to
coming
see-
Sunday to do it.
You have to see the, right? Increase your stipend.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a simple question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So replace mental health specialist title with service navigator. So I Googled a service navigator. So what is the difference or what? Yes,
So I put that
Sure.
suggestion forward, so that was just based on, what we were hearing, from the chief, that the original title of mental health, specialist, when I asked the chief, I said, it seems like this person in this role is acting more as a resource navigator, not providing services to individuals, and he said, yeah. So, I thought that was, again, an important thing, because how this came about, right? And I think, I know people have come to the rail and talked about it, and I think that I just want to be clear as to the function of that position, and I don't think that the title of mental health specialist really captures the breadth of that work, based on what the chief was saying. That's what I said. That was great, though.
Mr. Crowley, did you check with civil service? Because I don't even know if the police department did. Sometimes we think we know what's
The title of it.
civil services, I don't know, it's gotta be this title, but you can modify the job duties and description to, more appropriately reflect what you want to,
Right, so,
achieve.
yeah, and so I did check, but I did have some prior knowledge of service navigator and a resource navigator being civil service position titles, so that's why I suggested that, because I was thinking of that.
if it works, fine.
Yeah. I just think it just,
Just need to check.
represents more what the function of that job would be, and.
Because it is, correct me if I'm wrong,
Sure.
but I think the mental health specialist is for internal mental health. That's not the person that goes out, is it, on
No.
calls? Because we have the contract with Northern Rivers,
Right.
to go out on calls. So maybe this person was doing some of that, but I thought also it was like an internal wellness for the
That's not what I
police
understood.
officers.
No, so there's,
Okay.
a couple different things. How I understood it, and how I understand it to be is that the officers have someone that, internally that, serves as a mental health
specialist.
for them.
Right,
This, mental health specialist title, I believe this was, part of the police reform conversations, and I think, as they should, the police department, and listen to the community and said, we want to get a mental health specialist. But what the chief was saying, he's saying that, really, this person wouldn't be aiding in this de-escalation. This person would be aiding in more of a follow-up. So if they're dealing with somebody, they can go back and coordinate with service providers and agencies.
You're right.
Right, so but I think the community might be under the impression that this is a person that's providing mental health services to people out in the community that are having police contact, and that's really not accurate.
I think the example is what happened at Vale Park. I think the example is when the police department worked with Bethesda House, SCAP, et cetera, and did a coordinated effort in working with the people who were without housing, that were coming now out of Vale Park, and placing them and supporting them and giving them the services they needed. That's what this role of this person is to be part of that team.
Right.
I guess is what I'm saying.
It seems like more of a service navigator, helping them.
services.
Yes,
Right.
not only just connecting them with service providers, but then following up and
I think we're all in agreement as long as we can do this. With the CS.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely want us to have
So
this
my
phone
position
died,
right up
but
front.
Let's move on.
Exactly.
I was opposed.
Yes.
I think all of us are
We're
in
in
the same page.
agreement.
Oh, I'm just trying to answer the question.
Discussion?
This is our chance to discuss
It's a better title.
Staying with service navigator.
So it's staying, we need to see
He's
how
going
that
to check.
title goes with him.
Yeah.
So we need to,
Just according to my Google, it's everything you want it to be. The
Right.
title of what it
Exactly.
is. But my phone
Not that I
died.
wanted to be.
But my phone died. No, a better title for that position.
Charger.
All right, I'm done.
I do have a charger if you need. You stop.
No, I'm good.
I know we're here and it's, time is marching on, but I think, I kind of feel like we need to talk about these items.
go ahead, pick anyone and we'll.
Just pick one. I know, but I'm trying to because we don't have the budget, because we don't have the budget.
I was giving us an opportunity to look at the one that pops out and talk about it,
Yeah, let's just go line by line.
line by line,
Yeah.
okay. So we talked about water, sewer, garbage, we talked about support, music
Okay.
haven. Let's talk about, support, affirmative action office. I think we heard from, Mr. Gardner yesterday, and the reason why he wanted, support staff to help him out, and, the needs for that office, or any question on this there?
Yeah, I got it. So, to me, he needs support. But it seems to me we're hiring an IPS person in human resources that could do a good portion of some of that data analysis type thing he's looking for, at least tracking people. If I remember well, that's one of the big things he's struggling with.
I'm trying to find my notes.
And then, so that to me is a human resources job and could be filled by that person in the human resource department. And then I think the other stuff could be handled by some of the people in the development office because they kind of work hand in hand, don't they? So like you're doing these things. It seems to me we need a coordinated effort, which he's already doing. And so to get the support he needs, I think we have some of it in place already. It's just a matter of making sure those people do what they need to do for Ron and making sure he's getting the data and support he needs.
well, I mean, if HR assistant, IPS 3, and that's a new hire. I'm sure, Mr. Ferrari can address this, I'm sure this person is coming in to assist in the human resource department, maybe directly for benefit.
And finance too.
And finance,
And
so, yeah, so not primarily in the affirmative action, office or related work. And just to address,
You start talking.
go ahead.
So I think part of what we heard yesterday from Mr. Coluccio is that when you don't dedicate singular positions for singular roles, you then create these individuals who have their hands in multiple hats. And if we're not able to find replacements, those roles keep increasing. So by the time you get to 20 years in the city, not only are you your title, but you're also an umbrella of everything that just kept on your plate because you had no one else to give it to. So I think if we're intentionally supporting this department, we need to give it the positions that he requested in full.
Yeah, and I was gonna talk about, Department of Development. I mean, adding more work to them. We have been moving away work from Department of Development, and I could just call a program out. We recently, last year, the year before, transferred all programs out to BCNI to assist because they have enough that they're doing down there. And adding more on top of them, it will not be fair.
And in addition, we kind of are adding more because they have to do a lot with the ARPA project. So that's gonna be something that's gonna be.
But we added that, remember you and I last year kind of questioned the additional position that we put into development last year, which was the rationale for that was to be working on the ARPA.
Who's that?
I think it now, when it was presented to us last year, it was called assistant director, but I asked Kristen about it the other time when she spoke with us. And it has a different title now.
CD manager supervisor, community development supervisor.
Community development supervisor. So we added that last year to help, because we thought that Kristen's workload would be affected by the ARPA. So we added that other position. So I was actually the two other, but I mean, again, those positions are filled, she explained to us already. But there are two additional new positions in her office that I was wondering about whether those were positions we needed, but they are filled now already before we even came to talking about the budget. So,
So they really shouldn't have been on the list of
New jobs.
because they were already filled. And when the other part, we didn't know when we filled that position what ARPA was going to look like. We didn't know that we were going to fund like multiple projects that people really have to monitor and take a look at. We didn't know any of that.
right.
So now that we have a better grasp of that, I think it's going to make a difference. So we're really talking about affirmative action. And do we ask them for these wants, and which would be another 106,249, because we subtract out what's already been allocated to him in the budget. So that would be the additional money, right?
106,249.
Yeah, in other words, we don't have to, looking at the sheet that Mr. Gardner gave us, he included his own salary, which is already in the existing operating budget. So if you take the total of 180, what Ms. Porterfield I think is saying is if you take the total of 182,684 and subtract out Mr. Gardner's 2023, it comes down to whatever you just said.
Did I not make that clear? I'm not sure.
Does that include
No.
that? So.
Oh, yeah, and then plus the benefits.
Some other.
Yeah, the benefits are in a different
Different
Well, I
place.
understand that, but it's also an added,
Yeah.
so we get the right numbers.
Yeah, but we don't put it in this budget, we put it in at the other end of the budget.
Plus,
I know, but it's still money we have to come up with.
because it also is computers and office furniture for those two additional positions.
No.
That's all part of it.
I'm just trying to get a number
Yeah.
of what we're spending.
Yeah.
Is that for every position, you saying there's
Yeah,
real cost?
it doesn't matter who it is. So it's what, 106 plus times
70,000.
70%, so 176,000. I mean, it's gonna be the same for every single position, so.
So where are we? Up, down, sideways on this?
So we'll need roughly about 176.
I think we do it, we put the 176 and then we see what happens on Wednesday when Mr. Ferrari.
With the numbers flowing, yes. We'll
Right.
have a better picture when
Exactly.
when you see the numbers
Exactly.
flowing.
So,
Yeah.
so now it's codes, we go to codes.
Okay, I gave you the wrong number yesterday, info specialist 4 is gonna be 54,205, I gave you, this year's numbers, not next year's numbers.
So I'm sorry, 54,
There goes your
205?
stipend.
There it is.
Exactly.
54,205.
54,205.
And then we're eliminating the position of 37,093, so it's an increase of $17,112.
Was that clerical position a new position in codes?
I think it was gonna be, that's a clerical aid, I believe, right?
No,
Jeff?
it's not.
I don't see it on the new positions.
No, it's not new. It's a position there that is not filled.
But wasn't he going to read that position and collapse the other position, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
I'm looking for codes in here so I can see my notes.
It's a plus 17,000,
right.
plus benefits.
17
That's how we go.
Whoever gets there first, please say the page number.
41.
Thank you.
So there's one vacancy,
I see,
the
okay.
clerical aid.
Yes. That's what you're taking out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I see, yep, he only has one right now.
Mhm. Okay.
So total expenses, basically 29,000.
Thank you.
So the expense would be 29,000?
Yes, instead of,
benefits.
because we're taking away a
So it's
position.
17,000 times 0.7.
Got it, so because we're collapsing that position and he's,
So you're saving on the salary and you're saving on the benefits.
That's right.
So whatever that salary is, times 7%.
Okay, so the next one is police department meeting.
In these positions where they look for upgrades, and there's one issue in the clerk's office, somebody waiting for a civil service test. The rules used to be that an individual could fail a civil service test 2 or 3 times, and reappoint him, do it. Civil service has now changed the rules where, upon failure of the test, have to basically fire him, lay him off.
One time?
One time?
I think I
Like
remember
this
that
happened
when I was
within
up
2
in
weeks,
college.
get the notice, notify the employee. And what I had looked at these better scenarios is if we're gonna promote these people, you do the analysis of job duties. If there's gonna be a test or certification, get it from civil service first, so that we can then move them into the position permanently and don't have to jockey around the likelihood, and it puts more pressure on them to study and pass the test. But we don't have to do the maneuvering if they come up short to lay them off, recreate another position, or maneuver through a complicated system. So you do the budget amendment, whenever they're in place, ready to move them up. And these are relatively small amounts of money that we're looking at, we'll make it work one way or the other during the year.
because if you have to do the latter, then there's a cost of that too, especially if you have to lay someone off and then. Right.
So in code, Is that what we're talking, in code
No,
or
now
down?
we've moved on to,
General.
oh yeah, we were on code, but
I'm
now.
I'm saying it in general,
oh,
in
right,
this
right.
particular position, Sam is feeling.
Right, well, because there is one in the clerk's.
You don't want to lose somebody you've trained,
Right.
got the experience.
4 years.
Right,
Okay. So, that is,
So now we're on the do not fill police department infotech specialist. Did we just finish that, or no, we haven't?
I think the consensus was it's a position to be left blank in case somebody didn't pass the exam. Is that what I'm hearing, or?
Well, you do that. The problem is, under the rules for budget, you can't carry it with a zero salary.
Well, I know that,
right, okay.
Oh, so
So do not
but
fill.
it's not gonna be filled, but we have
I
to
can't
have it
even
in
find
the
it
budget.
In the budget,
I gotta be
okay.
honest.
Unless
Page
somebody
41, good.
and then we can do a budget amendment during the year.
Gotcha.
If we need it.
Assign
If you don't have a position, but they
Gotcha.
move up, we'll take the existing position, change it to
Now,
Gotcha. I understand
XYZ
now.
title, add the differential to it going forward.
Okay. What does the next one mean? No increase to part-time employees, public safety committee?
Commission.
Oh, public safety commission?
It was not in the budget, and then, the conversation was centered around that, the mayor asked, the mayor asked, them, was like, they missed it. And then
Oh, I know.
the question was submitted that no increase to part-time employees, and reference to public safety commissioner who's part-time, and anybody else who's part-time.
I thought that his job was split into 2 lines, in 2
Police and
different.
fire,
One's in police and one's in fire.
But he's part-time.
yeah.
Yes.
That's not a full-time salary. Do you know what the salary is? That wouldn't be a full-time salary for him.
I thought that one line was 40-something and one line was
No,
40.
it's
22.
22.
Oh,
22.
okay, okay.
22.5, I think it is on each,
So,
45 total. Right?
so what does this mean, though? No increase to part-time employees?
They're not gonna, what you're saying is you're not gonna give an increase to the public safety commission.
Oh, no raise.
45.
Okay, I got it now. I'm sorry.
Would have been $1,800, 900 for each. 1,800 total.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, reduce police department overtime budget by $425,000.
I think that's a whole Saturday discussion. Go use the men's room, because it's open.
Told you we should have brought pastries.
You're right. About them snacks.
Where is that?
112.
Oh,
No, I got it. It's 334.
So I guess how many, I mean, you're looking at 2 or 3 hires, would that actually offset 400,000 worth of work?
3122, 112. It's $1.8 million. We could actually, take some out of here, take some out of different departments to equal 425 too,
I'm just saying, if I don't, not arguing it, I'm just asking the question is, we're gonna get basically 3 hires for that. Are we gonna get $425,000 worth of overtime
Right.
with those 3 people?
So those numbers correlate, so.
Right.
I think this.
So that's what this says, right?
Yeah.
Take away the overtime, but add 3 officers, is what I'm hearing you
no.
say?
No.
The amount of
So
officers,
let me see
but
if I
that
can get, yeah, so they say, okay, I think this center is from last year when the chief was before us, hire more officer, before you came to the council, hire more officers, will reduce over time. This year again was the same discussion, by hiring more officers, this will, new technology will reduce overtime costs. So the question, if I'm interpreting right, and I can get help from this, reduce the overtime because that was stated, and continue to hire more officers. So we're not eliminating officers, we're just eliminating the overtime costs, putting that money towards officers, hiring officers.
Yeah, but to Mr. Palomini's question is, if we're cutting that overtime and hiring, and the new hires, are those, is that gonna cancel each other?
They're funding,
That's the
the
question.
new hire is funded in the,
No, I understand that, I'm talking about in terms of work. So, yeah, the hours, so if we hire, it's gonna be basically 3 officers, maybe 4, with that money. Are we gonna get the same amount of work in terms of hours out of those new hires as we would with $425,000 overtime?
I understand the question.
And I'm not saying not to do, I'm just
Right.
asking the question.
Yeah,
Well, one of the other things that the chief said was by us entering to this Axon, contract, that was going to reduce some police hours that now they spent doing paperwork or whatever they were doing or pulling down data from the cameras and all that, that was figured in and that we should see some reductions there as well. So let's hope that that will reduce some of that overtime.
But I think, and please help me out with this, that it's gonna be Mr. Williams, that there's a ramp up to the Axon, and we don't even have that stuff on hand yet, right? I mean, all the equipment, maybe they're putting the orders in, but,
Correct, we won't see the full.
and then they have to, yeah, we have to get it
Oh,
online. It has to come online in terms of getting it used. So let's say it gets online by June. It's still gonna take, it's not gonna reduce the police, I should say, increase the police efficiency, is I think the way that it was put. It's gonna take some time for them to be using the new equipment, in order for us to see an outcome, that will make a difference, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
I didn't think there was that much lead time, first of all.
I don't
because
know,
my
actually, I
understanding is
wonder, Anthony or
there's-
Derek, no.
this already exists. It's not something that we have to buy, the technology, and a lot of it is technology already exists. So, and this program already exists, and other police departments are already using
Oh,
it.
no, I know, I went to the
So-
training, I went to the
yeah, they
Right.
already have the.
So,
seminar, but I mean, I think that, they'll have to put the stuff into cars and, I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying, it's not gonna happen overnight that we're gonna see, what hopefully we will see long-term,
in next year's budget.
Yeah, I'm okay with the
Yeah, next
offset. I was just asking the question.
but I think that's an important question to ask, and I think that that's something that we need to, so, is it, if it offsets and, then, but I think that that's, maybe we should pose that to the chief of directors.
I think so too.
Some of those savings assumptions were put in the budget that I presented to you. And that, we're still seeing an uptick in crime. We're in many respects doing better than some of our sister cities in the area.
That's for sure.
But it's unfortunate it's putting more demand on the police department.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's for the chief, right?
Not for me.
I'll go over it with the chief, but I'm skeptical about signing off on a cut of that magnitude in the police overtime. I just don't believe we can live up to that number.
I mean, I think we're gonna be putting some more strain on them too if we move forward with some of the traffic things that we're hoping that they'll enforce. I mean, they are working on major crimes, so sometimes the traffic stuff doesn't get the same level of attention, but now we're gonna be asking them to try to step up some of that enforcement.
New technology.
Mm-hmm.
that
The
they're rolling
technology,
out.
but also, I mean,
Yeah.
like speed limit, I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying, I mean,
All right, next.
so next, this,
The safety foundation, I
Not a problem.
Yeah,
That's just
We already got that
This
work.
was, everything was rolling together up to the 402 line,
Yeah.
is that
Wait,
correct?
yeah. Because, yeah,
So,
but, you know, we do
Ferrari-
have it separated. You know, we ask for the detail, it comes out.
Mhm.
But, you know, when you're looking for a total number, it's, you know, show you the total 404, you know?
So, the reason why we want to see how much money is being spent against each, the foundation line and the outreach line. And to make sure this money is used towards, what we approve for. And if they need more money, well, you know what? There's always room to ask.
Although, just a side note, I do think we should re-examine, I remember you
Oh,
and I
yes,
talked about
I
this.
have
that-
it on the-
So it's not just limited to athletic events.
Yes, I do have it on,
I'm in agreement, let's go.
okay, next.
Services, we
I
got
We
the
did the
already
mental
services.
health
did.
thing,
Did
so
that.
special police officer removed from ARPA and assigned to general fund, so that is.
That's one of the things that, like I say, if you're gonna cut stuff, you can't,
124,000,
don't get rid of
125,000.
ARPA yet. Wait till 2024, you start removing it.
Because that's 125,000, I just want to say.
That's 125,000, yeah.
And I know we'll get that
And
back
those
once
were,
it's made.
you're seeing they do a great job down there, you know?
Present the numbers to us,
Yep.
and we'll
And then property evidence specialist, 31.
that's the same
It's
thing.
40,575.
This number's right there, do you?
Forty times.
Anthony, were these positions with the ARPA, was the benefits also part of the ARPA? or
No, for the special police officers, no benefits.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's social security and some mandatory.
That's, you know, it's
No health insurance.
3%, you know.
No, I just wanted to make sure we
No
got
health insurance.
accurate ideas of how much we need to come up with.
All right, so are we at the clerk's office now?
Yes.
All right,
So that's back, I think.
So this is similar to the infotech specialist, right? Won't fill unless somebody needs to be moved.
Right. What he said.
Yes,
What the mayor said.
I'm fine with that then, as long as we're not gonna fill it unless we need to.
Right?
where's the stipend?
We discussed that, stipend?
So we're going faster now here.
Yeah.
So no additional stipends or?
I
If
I
they
thought
were
we
already
said
in the
we
budget?
So we're
I
gonna
think
keep
we're
it the
leaving
same.
We're gonna keep
We're gonna
it.
reduce them to, you know, like, in our department, we increased it to 5 apiece. We're gonna reduce it back to 3 apiece.
So this is an added stipend,
This is an added, yeah, but the next one is a decrease.
reduction, yeah.
So are we on the reduce the mayor's recruitment budget?
It's from 25 to
Yeah,
10.
this line, the mayor has not utilized any funding from this line. I know when we discussed last year, the mayor had asked for 15,000, we bumped it to 25. Resumes are coming in, people
I don't
are
know
getting
if
on
we're
back
using
there.
it, yeah, only because it gives
And
him
then we
the,
say, you know, if we're not using it, then why 25? Why not go back to the original ask, 50? Because, that is all. But,
Yeah.
we go for
He
the
said he'd
special.
make it work.
okay.
Now,
Management, 3% across the board, rather than the 4%. We hear about how the city revenue is,
Keep it.
You're talking, I think you guys have the numbers. What's the difference?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, you gave it to us.
where is that today? Is that email?
It's in one of these multiple sheets that we got.
So management,
Yeah, here it is, it's on the front. No, that's not it, that's not it. It's on the
this page.
That's for 4% off.
No, that's not
we're
it.
talking 1%, you're talking like, what's 1% of,
63,64,000, so $6,400.
$6,400. I think you would have a better response from the management given the 4%. Because really, nobody really said anything, they received the 4%. Even last night, Kristen says, you know, everybody got across the board, everybody was pretty much happy at 4%.
I would vote for keeping it at 4%. I don't know who suggested that one, but
No, I
Wasn't
mean,
me.
prior year would be.
Not in-
Yeah,
I'm tight, but-
yeah, we talked about city finance. I mean, this is, 4%, yes.
It's
We
reasonable.
talk about, stuff like that, but then, look, overall, this will be attached there forever, the 4% onto the salary. Are we in a position to give everybody a 4% raise? We talked about how the city finance is not
Did you,
really, really good.
did you hear how much the difference
The
is?
difference is, I mean, what I'm saying.
64%.
I know,
Yeah,
but every dollar's come towards,
but if you
Now I'm getting
give 3%, guarantee a lot of people will leave.
I'm just making a conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm,
A lot of jobs out there, you know?
I
When you
guess,
look at some individuals, you get 20 and other things too,
what?
because they appear maybe a size.
Well, we haven't hit those parts of this chart yet, don't worry, but.
Next year, we'll make sure that we ask every one of them that comes before us.
I think though that also, I mean, going back to the morale issue, I mean, they already feel, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I would still support the 4%, and then we will worry about next year. I hear what you're saying, Mr. Mudavaren, but now, what's the raise next year?
Yep.
But I would rather cross that bridge next year.
Every,
And don't forget inflation, I mean, don't forget,
We're
all of
eliminating the new
all of
ones
us are
anyway.
dealing with higher costs, in terms of
every
our
department
hospitals,
asks for much bigger raises.
you know?
Every department asks for much bigger raises. And the 4%, they all were happy about it. And like I said, it's not.
Okay.
So we're
Any
going back,
question, any
we're
more
going back
questions?
to 4?
Huh?
We're going back to 4?
Yes.
I'm comfortable, yeah.
Is everybody, we're not going back yet, we just need to hear from.
6,400.
You guys haven't weighed in on that one?
Or we just want to do comparison? Okay, it's in front of us.
I don't understand what he's talking about at this point.
What's that?
I'm not sure what John's talking about at this point, I'm a little confused.
You mean the comparison, I mean, we are gonna see the comparison, right?
4%.
Yeah.
Well, the comparison, it's just 1% of 64,000, so that's $6,400.
Well, you're saying,
No, I understand, but the thing is that we can't just move forward with 2 or 3 people saying that, yes, we agree with 3. And just let it go, we need to,
But wait,
we need to get,
I'm comfortable
The,
with
the
4.
total budget,
Yes.
what we've been talking about all the way through the line is that next Wednesday, we're going to see how all of this affects. But I think you could do kind of straw.
yeah, let's not do it here.
Oh, okay, well,
Because if we do that, we're gonna have to do that for every item.
Figure out.
okay.
Let's have an open discussion and let it be open and defer to, for our.
Let's say I was fine with the 4%, that's why I was arguing to eliminate the new stipends and the increases in stipends.
And I hear what you're saying, so let's move on, that you're saying,
Yeah,
let's
move
wait
on.
until we get the figures back next
Yeah,
week.
let's move on. There's no argument.
No?
Deputy Finance Commissioner.
It's a $2,200 increase.
Where's that?
Well, this kind of gets back to the last piece, if we're giving everybody 3 or 4%,
That's the increase.
then now you're starting to say certain people are getting difference.
Mr. Ferrari made a case for this position, can you?
Well, a couple
Well,
of
let me
things.
just tell you, any department head that came in here and said something, it does not reflect my position. And I've got to manage the day-to-day operations. I've submitted a budget to you. These people work for me, most of them I hired. You complicate it and make it more difficult for me to do the day-to-day job when you go down some of these paths.
So we just put it that that's the question of department head?
Okay, what was the question? I'm sorry.
No, I was, we made a case for this position that increased
Yeah, no, I was saying,
77,000.
hardworking guy, who goes over and above the stock, over and above his, job duties, mostly, you gotta remember, in 2021, we had no purchasing staff, we had no payroll staff, and really with the leadership of Derek, we were able to get through it. I said we had bumps, but now we have a full staff and now it's rolling good. And just, we're talking about bonuses and awards, I think that, at the position that he's in as deputy commissioner, the deputy commissioner of OGS is at 104,000, and we're not asking for that much, only asking for $2,200 more, $2,200 more.
Go ahead, please.
I have zero issue with exceptions and special considerations.
The ask was 80, I just wanna, just remind, the ask was 80. Put that out there.
Let's move on.
Yeah, keep going.
Let's move on.
Have those conversations and come back.
What's that?
I think I feel, hearing from the mayor as well, that it seems like the mayor and department heads should have those conversations outside of this meeting, but because we're not really,
Well,
We've
I
had
hear
the
what he's-
We've had the
I hear what the
conversation.
mayor is saying, I
I
guess is what I'm
put the
saying.
budget forth to you, and you have to make the decisions now.
Yeah, I mean, the ask was 82,000.
80.
80,000.
They dropped it to 75, yeah.
There is a recommendation here for 75,000 for the deputy finance commissioner.
Yeah, and it's an increase of only $2,200.
$2,000, I don't have any issue doing that. I have no issue. The $2,000.
so what are we doing? Are we going to the next line?
Go to the next one.
Yeah.
It's actually 3740.
That's the difference?
The next one is the.
An increase.
With the different
You're gonna get the
benefit.
raise, this is above his raise.
Oh, so he's giving the difference above the raise.
What was the salary?
But it also goes in the benefits.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's already got benefits.
Right, but the extra money is,
So the 2,200.
so it's 3740.
Oh, you added the benefits, right?
Yeah, well, we have to come up with this money somewhere.
That's
All
right,
right.
benefits to 3740.
Next one, city engineer. We all heard from city engineer yesterday. The plea as to why this increase should be given to this individual. And I think the recommendation was made to 135, lower than what was asked for last evening. Open for questions.
What's it come to total, John, with benefits?
It's 115.
It's gonna be 119.
26,180 actually.
You gotta remember though, a lot of his benefits are already in here at 115.
Right, but there's, I'm just doing the amount, so it's $26,180.
Are we on the next page?
Yes, next page. We did a stipend there, 5,000, that is part of the glove.
That's already there though.
Yeah, so over there is 1 million.
And no increase? There was no increase.
That's not an increase.
5,000 over the
That's
years.
what he's done.
The next one is home coordinators. We heard from the departments of development and the director. about asking to bump this up to 65,000. So the question was asked to put this on as a recommendation. Open to questions. No question.
Are you doing benefits?
Yes.
So that's it.
It's an additional $11,170.
Just in support of this position, the mayor says that we're gonna get like so many houses in foreclosure that we have to sell and all of that, and so that's where, the majority of this work falls. So, just to be clear about that, and Ms. Diop didn't say that was why, but I think we all already know that. But she did recommend, the additional, she did ask for that amount of money for this position.
I think Maurice has done a great job, and it's not just his position, it's all, where's this money gonna come from? So that's, I think, the overarching question. I think Maurice has been awesome.
Just add for Maurice, that he's a community development, he'll be supplemented by the grant from community development.
Oh, so some of this would come out of there,
Yeah.
or the CDBG?
Oh, right.
Nice. Okay.
Just to be transparent.
Useful
Well,
information.
that's really useful
knows
information, because, I mean, I think that, he really does do
So how much of it comes out of
He's grown a
CDBG?
lot over the few years that I've been. I know.
Let's find
I
out.
don't really know.
If you don't have it here, let's make a note and we'll get it,
I know it's at least 50, you might be 100.
That could be. Because I feel.
you can always follow up Monday and just provide that to us when you're providing this report.
Okay,
Can we order in?
Next one,
Yes,
next
I'm
one.
waiting.
next,
Yeah, the next one is principal billing, audit and AP clerk. We heard from John on this position. I think this position was asking for like about 17, 18%.
11 something,
17%.
Yeah, so.
yes, 17%.
It's a 17%
figured it
increase.
out.
Taking over John's job.
Well, no, I didn't. Well, that's the original one, yeah.
Like $11,284, something like that?
So the question was asked, since this is a principal billing audit clerk, we heard that this person's also doing IT work, related work. And the question had split it in half, rather than the 17%, do 5,006, and I just make the notation with the number there, but I will have to factor in benefit also.
$9,591.
With benefit.
That's including benefit, 9,500. Okay. The next one is just a statement removed from ARPA, assigned to general fund. Mr. Ferrari will do the math there and present it to us.
Disagree.
Heat fuel increase for both lines. One is golf and one is
It was someplace like in engineering or
ODS.
something. No, I don't think it was. I think both of those,
Okay, I thought it was for golf. Hold on, I got on my notes here.
one of them is golf, but the other one,
Building, facilities?
Facilities.
We didn't even discuss
We didn't even,
OGS, which Paul said was under.
in other words, these two numbers, I put these in because they were mentioned to us in the department head's presentation. But clearly, and honestly, I didn't have the time, but these lines are in many other places, and Mr. LaFond actually said that he thought they were underestimated or something, I can't remember the word that he used.
That was correct. He did say it's underestimated.
But he didn't give us
based on the increase in the cost. So he's asking to bump it up.
30%.
Yeah.
And we used to do a more consolidated
That was my.
allocation of this, now it's broken down by departments to give better tracking. Anthony, should we look at this collectively? Because most of these numbers were started to put together in May and June before some of the bigger increases happened, and we come up with, as opposed to each line getting adjusted, do a lump sum of.
We've done that for golf, for gasoline, stuff like that. But then the council always asks for the detail of it. So we can, I have no problem doing that. For us, it's a lot easier.
Well, I actually, because I was wondering that as we've been going through, and again, it's only my third budget time. But it did seem to me that there were several places where I kind of thought, why are we not doing this as one sum? Because for efficiency's sake,
Right.
there was that. I mean, I was thinking in terms of some of the arborist kinds of things that are in the budget as well.
Yeah, but everybody that came for the arborist told us their particular reason why they needed an arborist as opposed to.
I know, but to me, it's like, we're one, I don't know, but I'm just saying.
I get it, I felt the same way.
Oh, okay.
But it could be, put in the budget for the arborist, you might get the one arborist, who's gonna work for those two different departments.
We buy the fuel in bulk,
Oh.
it's one way, and then it's not like somebody goes to the gas station.
No, I know.
And so that we could leave these lines in place, but in the final budget the council adopts, add X number of dollars that we would then allocate back to these lines.
As needed.
And if the lines are initially at the lower level, it's still an incentive for the departments to try and stay within that.
I think that's a good solution.
And Anthony, just, we can come up with a number, what, is gonna be realistic.
Okay.
So we're moving on from these two. The next one is just a statement remove from ARPA, assigned to general fund.
So all that's gonna be the same discussion.
Same discussion,
Yep.
we see the math. The next one, we did this at length.
Yep. So National Grid,
National Grid, the rail. Remove the 1.3 million from ARPA and assign to general fund.
well, can I interrupt us there? Because I do think we're kind of committed to that. It's a contractual thing. It just was split into 3 years or something. I can't remember how many years.
Yep.
So we have to pay
Yeah, I
that
know,
money.
but it's not stopping the payment, it's removing from, taking the money from ARPA and taking from general fund.
To me, this is a great expense.
That's what the question
Once
is.
you use federal money, when you use
Yeah.
federal money, then
Meets all the
you're,
ARPA.
Yeah,
Fund
and then, the bottom end to that question is, consider the 700,000 saving last year. Late last year, we transferred $2 million from the AIM funding towards this program. And only 1.3 was used, so there is an additional 700,000.
In the general,
In the general fund.
General fund.
it's in the general fund?
Yes.
yeah, went to the
Yes.
fund
The
balance.
fund balance, I mean.
Fund balance, yeah.
I call that a
But
reserve.
that didn't encumber it, so it drops back into the general fund. It's an oversight.
So you're suggesting taking it out of the,
The question is suggesting it that remove it, not take it from ARPA, but take it from general fund, because we're looking at not utilizing ARPA, but use general fund, and because we
So
need to,
reducing
we need
the
to address
16
ARPA
16
when
million
the mayor
thing.
comes back with his detailed report to us as to what is available, what is needed, additional money.
okay, I'll wait till I see it on Wednesday.
Wednesday. The next one is a rental for veterans post. And the question is asking for an increase from 4,500 to 9,000.
So giving the veterans $4,500 more.
Was there really a request for that?
So I
I
actually,
didn't-
Go ahead, please.
so whenever I see veterans, organizations or attempts to kind of fund those agencies, it definitely takes a certain appreciation from me. Looking at how it was funded over the past 3 years and trying to take into account inflation, I think if we're truly trying to support these initiatives, regardless of whether they're coming forward or not. I think it's evaluating whether those stagnant contributions still reflect the same value to those agencies. So I think increasing it and then keeping this at the standard, I think sends a direct message to them that we appreciate what you've done for our country, and here is a small token to help you support your initiatives, which we all know are suffering stagnancy with getting attendance. So not saying that they aren't doing their parts, but a lot of those veteran halls rely heavily on these types of contributions. So I think this is a small effort to continue to support our service members, and I think it's a stance that the city can take long-term.
Jim Wilson sent me a note, probably one of the last things he did. Most of you know he passed away last few days, but he indicated that thanking us for the money, that it was adequate. And he said that he would notify us if any of the groups shifted, because there's some that have gone out of businesses. You know, Mr. Williams was pointing out they have a hard time in terms of recruitment and getting people to staff them.
So were we paying full rental for these?
No, this is a
Give.
once a year thing, and they, as part of that, when we need flag ceremonies at council meetings or other things, they will come out, and so it offsets some of their costs associated with community activities.
I'm okay with this one. I'm sorry.
I yield, no, it's fine.
No issue, Kurt. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Good. Next one is youth employment. This is what it called, in the budget it says youth bureau, SYEP.
Summer Youth Employment Program.
Summer Youth Employment Program, that the money is going towards the county. The recommendation, the question here, recommendation is that we rename this line to Youth Employment, City of Schenectady / Schenectady School District, $150,000, and remove the Youth Bureau. I think we started something this year with the Schenectady School District. We heard a good story about it, and I think it's good that we continue to fund and provide a service for these youths in our school district.
So putting this into the operating budget, but taking out the 43.
Yes.
Correct, 107,000.
So it's really only adding
107,000.
107,000.
I'm sorry that I said, oh
No,
no.
no fringe.
It's all right, come on. It's getting tired.
But,
And we
let
split
me
that
just see
with the
something, but
county?
that would be ARPA.
We're asking this money remain in the house. The mayor,
Yes, it'll still be our
school district, and Mr. Farley has been
So we're
working
not
with,
taking it and putting it in.
yeah,
Just changing the name. and-
changing the description and directing this money to stay in-house towards what we have voted on and approved when we heard the school district, but
Totally fine with this one.
yeah. So this one here is something that we all talk about over the years to fund these, provide money. We don't have money, and now we have money. So
We're
that's-
good.
We're ready, we're done. That's a good one.
Damn, I wish everyone was easy like this. The next one, remove from ARPA, assigned to general fund. Police officer, remove from ARPA, assigned to general fund. Same thing with firefighter, remove from ARPA, assigned to general fund.
But we have the, I mean, again, I'm gonna probably argue on
It's
this
gonna
one.
be
I know we're gonna wait till next week, but we've got the ARPA money. I mean, I really feel like we need to be spent, these are essential
Yeah.
things. But I will wait to argue it next week,
Yeah.
since that's all we're doing is
Because
just.
we were holding off, and wait, I mean, spend and still waiting on the mayor, or should we just hold off, spend, and then realize that the mayor doesn't have any money left behind to,
Well, I think he's telling us that
Yes.
this is how he would like to use the ARPA funds, but not to put words in your mouth.
That's in the budget.
So, you know, again, I mean, we can have the argument next week,
Yeah.
whatever, but
the next one is property tax reduction.
Don't do that.
Question was asked, why not a 1% property tax reduction?
That should
We
be,
have seen today,
The
that's
number should be 316,290.
I'll take away a stipend.
360,290.
You're giving me a wrong number.
So that's the
When you
316,
called me on the phone, I was on top of my head. I said,
316,
it was 316,000.
even?
No, I told you on the phone, 316,000.
316,290.
316,290, 1%.
Yeah, and this was driven late this afternoon, thank you for giving me the number, because we saw the companies coming out with a tax rebate of $250 per household, so that's what we
that's
did.
not
For
for every
households that are
Yes,
Yeah.
star exemption, I
Yes.
mean, the
Maybe
Star.
be
and star.
enhanced.
Yeah,
Yes.
most people start.
And again, looking at is the uses and restricted uses of ARPA funds are you cannot reduce taxes.
Right, we're not gonna,
So
Well, I don't think you're using ARPA fund to reduce taxes, we can use general fund if we decide to go this path.
we're arguing about semantics, but
Yes.
you're reducing the property taxes and we're using ARPA funds extensively in the budget, one way or the other.
so also, I just wanna say, and I could be wrong, but it seems to me that with the water, sewer, trash, and this, it actually, I think, is 2,609,629, but I would defer to our economist, but
Close enough.
close enough.
But if you put this in, we're right around we're over 2.9 million. That's not including taking
Just
away
from
the
those
ARPA
four
money.
things, yeah,
Oh, no, I total them all up.
yeah.
So if we do this, we have to come up with 2.91 million plus the 5-something million.
Almost
in
5.8.
ARPA, 3.82,
3.8.
and then, yeah, so you're looking at almost $7 million.
Yeah, 2 million, that's it,
What happened to that surplus you were talking?
That's where you're gonna have to use it up, but that's,
No,
that's double our surplus.
I just earned Anthony's stipend.
Anthony was
I
talking
mentioned,
about.
I said that number before, earlier in the meeting.
Anthony was so happy that we had $3.1 million, $3.2 million in surplus. Where is that, Anthony?
I know.
Well,
We need it here.
But it still would be there, we're gonna we're gonna use it no matter what, but
Can we
I
say
wasn't planning on using 8 million.
The following year?
No, we can't.
Can we plan on
Yeah.
2022
That's what I'm just saying, you
budget?
should hold on to the ARPA funds for at least another year,
No, I know that.
to get your revenues back up.
Okay. So these items here, the skateboard, there were discussion from the mayor's office and some of the members from the council, the $1.2 million. The mayor's originally asked for $1 million. We were concerned about liability, and now that's come back to the table for discussion. I don't
The
want to call
reason I
names,
said-
submit questions.
It was me, I mean, and the reason
So-
for 1.25
Yeah.
is because Mr. Wallen did contact one company about the possibility of doing this under the 890 underpass. And when Mr. Wallen was explaining it, he also added then $250,000 for lighting and either streets or sidewalks, I can't remember. However, there are other options as well, so I just went with the larger figure there, but this is way early beginning stages of any kind of planning. There's other alternatives.
In that question.
But I would like to see a
also,
skateboard park, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Riverside, because we allocated money there to Riverside.
We did,
Yes, so-
originally to renovate the existing tennis courts back into tennis courts, but there might be some play there. And so it's sort of a discussion that still needs to, a planning discussion that still needs to be finalized. But it could be as easy as renovating the Riverside Park into the skateboard park, which would be, I believe, a lot less expensive. But it doesn't give them year-round access, nor does it give the city sort of a kind of showcase skateboard park under 890. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that at least it was included with the parks discussion, because I wasn't here the night that you all talked about all the other parks. It was the night that I had my surgery.
But you also mentioned that there's opportunities for grants, because this is.
There are.
This full cost may not, well, although it may even go higher, may not be something that necessarily needs to come
Right.
out of the council budget.
Right.
Out of the city budget.
Yeah, Mr. Rollins was talking about, I think he was talking about, there's money that can be used, for, leading up and access and parking to the park.
Right,
That's
that's
all tracking things, so yeah.
Yep,
But
that's
no,
right.
I agree.
I mean, this was first proposed in 2019 anyway, so there's grants and stuff that are available, and hopefully we'd get a good chunk of money.
Yeah, I mean,
No, seriously, I mean, I think some of the other municipalities, I think that was part of our discussion, that some of the other, even local municipalities have secured grant funds from these foundations that support skateboard parks, so, anyway.
Do you think we could get some final numbers before we touch on the
I don't
final ARPA
Do you think
allocation?
that
How is your meeting going?
It's like a better guesstimate, or, I don't know.
You're not gonna have it by Wednesday.
No,
Yeah.
not for this budget, but before we
We know that if
before
we're
we
doing
bid for our final ARPA allocation, not this budget, but the final.
Yes, we'll have to make a decision whether we look at the other site over at 890 or do modifications to some of the plans in Front Street Park.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I put that note on the right side here, because we still have some money available under ARPA that we can address these things, because we had talked about Steinman Park, about 500,000. We talked originally, when you were off that day, about Grove Park, 500,000. So the question that was submitted, 100,000 for Steinman's, Grove Park, 100,000. I think these parks need more money than that, but, I think there's no doubt that all of us are supportive of our parks. There's no doubt about that. That's what we have. Sorry.
Yep.
But,
Right, and just to circle back to the skateboard,
Yes.
park, because I did have a discussion with the young man that came to, the park, so I know we're talking about either or.
mhm.
They're kind of talking about, can we do both? Can we just, so just for that, just so you know, that kind of request and thought process is out there,
Yep,
And I told them it's
either or.
one or the other. We're both trying to balance, tennis, basketball, just people who want some green space.
What I was
Yes.
looking at after, Mr. Rollins was talking, he was talking about the really good things that are happening in the city and how we want a skate park that is on par with that, right? We wanna make sure that we have, a skate park that really represents, where we are as a city. And there's, and then we'll look into this a little further, but there's like other municipalities that have skate parks that is a primary use as a skate park, but through the design,
right.
they function as other things,
Right.
to support community activities. So I think that we want to make sure that we're leveraging that as well.
My concern at the current location is they,
Kind of makeshift. some
They
things.
created
looks like they're just a liability issue.
Right, absolutely.
But they're drawing people in. It's
Yes.
A group there of 75 people. I love all the people in Stockade, they're all good, and they're supportive of this. I know when you create parking issues in Stockade, you're gonna get complaints. And so if we do an upgrade there where it's a nicer facility, it's fancier, it's not gonna reduce the utilization, more people are gonna wanna use it. That's what we wanna spend the money. And if we're gonna have parking issues and other impacts, you don't wanna create the negative. It's, the standard thing when we pave streets is, people complain, oh, there's potholes, I can't go down the street, it's terrible, why haven't you paved it? My street hasn't been paved in the last 100 years. We pave it, and then immediately the calls are coming in, you've gotta do something about speeding, these cars are going too fast, they're going down the street.
It's true,
True.
it's true, look at.
You never get it right.
I mean, I think he's,
Yeah.
but I think, and we kind of touched base on this, and certainly we talked about it at the meeting with the skateboard people. An initial step is, just like we did with the pool project at Central Park, is that we could allocate some money for a design, which would then put this onto the professionals to kind of come back to us and say, here's what they think is the.
Yes, even though the design is probably gonna be driven by the site.
Right,
Yeah.
So you have to
So
place decide which site.
Well, Yeah, 890 has the covering, you know, I guess that's why it's an underpass.
The skaters really like that in terms of the ability to use it year round because of the cover that the roadway and the bridge gives.
Yep.
And, you know, today, you get on to construction sites, they're doing the bridge project, but
Oh, right, that's right, the department.
it's underutilized space, and so as we're expanding the downtown, creating more green space, improving the walkability, bikeability of the community, it's just another resource there that we could play on and create opportunities for people.
Yeah.
And can you do it in a way where it's more of a regional draw than just a local
Right,
little park or pad?
right, and Troy's doing it under, you know, if you like, I say if I was going down 26th Street, you know, from like RPI, let's say, they're doing it like underneath that whole really awfully messy area that is at the end of there,
That
like
would be
underneath
their-
those, you know,
I think that would be their second skate park.
I'm not sure, maybe they have one up in, I can't remember, but.
Either way, it
Second
would pale in
skate.
comparison to our skate park, I'm sure.
Exactly,
That's
we
not
want
even-
primo.
Let's have colored lights.
Mayor Madden's position
Oh,
on
yeah.
that varied somewhat from what the skaters.
Oh, okay,
want, so
okay.
we'll get into that.
Okay, that's
What
right, you were
Troy's
seeing
doing.
him right after that, that's right.
And then, you know, a professional skater such as myself, that would be.
No.
Are you a
Yeah.
professional?
All right, let's not get carried away, okay.
No, he's
All right,
not.
let's just matter of perspective.
Okay, him
Is
silent.
that a hidden secret that you know about?
I would like to see if we can at least move forward with the B diamond, because that will get use. And there is a need for irrigation system there.
Hear about that one. And Groat is the cricket, right?
Yeah. But John wants to.
Originally, when I asked for this was 500,000, so I'm not sure why the ask is 100,000 now. Steinmetz Park, the original ask was 500,000 also.
Because we don't have that much ARPA money left, that's why.
Well, that's why I mentioned just now, we should hold off and see at our final round,
That's
final
fine.
number, and then we allocate, because these parks are important.
I'm okay with holding off
Yeah.
those, I just would like to see if we can move forward with the B diamond.
Yeah,
That's
and I
all.
would like to see more money towards Steinmetz, Grove Park, the Bellevue Little League, $80,000. I mean, these are things that will get my support, but we need to just, you know, look at the final funding on the ARPA and what is available after we get the report from Jim McCarthy.
So,
To go ahead to fund all these parks.
So again, no argument, but can we move forward with the B diamond?
so my question about the B diamond, the irrigation, is that something we can do like this time of year? I have no idea, that's just my question, I don't know.
You
would
put it
The
in,
ground
you
needs
put
to
it on
be,
2022?
I don't know, no,
It's
what I
not
mean is,
frozen yet, I think.
that's what I wanna know, is the ground too hard now? I don't know.
But getting a contractor to come up now might be
Oh, okay, so, oh, okay, that's my question.
It doesn't say.
Yeah, but at least
But the
line up
work
the
is
guy if they're hard to get.
Okay, so the
Think about
next
the
one
use it gets over there.
What's the next one?
is page 17, part-time clerk.
No, that's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, sorry, let's not go there. That was a question I placed there, just not to remember. Let me McCarthy answer it for me.
Oh, okay, so I'll
So
just,
it was
cross
a
it out.
typo, kind of like five
I'm
part.
happy to cross it out.
So we're like, are we paying one person $104,000?
Oh, yeah, no, I noticed
It's five
Yes.
positions.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was just a
Did
question.
do we put in that figure, is there a pay raise for the council saying they're
I
not
believe
giving,
that-
so they're
yes.
not giving pay raises to
Part-time,
Part-time,
take those out?
take them out.
Don't let the council,
Is that what
we need to be
we said?
consistent,
So
if we said that for the other part-time positions, so we would need to
It
be.
was just the commissioner, right?
But they're also, but the reason.
No, I
was-
know, I get that, but I'm just saying, do we make a decision, or are we going to have this as a discussion next week?
Oh, they didn't get one either, so the special police. That reminds me
the
of,
special police didn't
special police didn't get
didn't
one.
get an increase either.
No.
They all come in as the same number from last
And are you
year.
all in?
Yeah, they're part-time,
Not
My
gonna argue with
challenge-
everybody, if that's what everybody.
yeah.
Well, because if we start doing that, then what about the seasonals and people like that, do we start giving pay increases there, so,
The
you know.
seasonal employees, they're part-time.
giving increases to them.
You are?
minimum wage and.
Oh, gotcha.
Minimum wage,
So, all right, so, Mr. Ferrari, you got your hands full.
Yeah.
I appreciate if you can get this report out
So,
to us.
I'm just gonna say, so I'm gonna probably do a couple of budgets, I'm gonna probably do one exactly which we said tonight.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do one that, what I think will help you. And then we got the mayor's budget.
Yes. So, if I'm not pushing, would it be possible to get us out to us Monday evening, Monday
I
evening?
plan to come in Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Got all my
Stipend is available.
Right.
So that way, the council will have an opportunity to vote it one day, Tuesday. If there's any changes, within that, any questions, please submit it, so that way when we come Wednesday to move forward, some of your questions might be answered prior to you being here Wednesday. Again, questions, submit, Anthony will get answered to us, and the numbers, you have questions on the numbers, submit questions and we'll move forward. So as the Toro says, hoping I spend the whole night Wednesday here, so I'll try to avoid that. So after you have the report,
Right now,
submit your questions. Tell us what you don't like, what you like, let's move forward. If nothing else before, ask for a motion to recess.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Nice job. We are all tired, but you did a good job. You did your best.
Question for you, Mr. I'm gonna go get some pieces of that pizza again.
Should done by sometime.
In
Before November 4th.
You think, what time, it's Friday, they probably don't close early, right? I did miss chicken shack though, because Yaya's is closed.
Could do it Tuesday.
All right.
Check my